Who said finding cheap motor insurance had to be hard? You can make finding cheap insurance easier with mustard.co.uk. Compare your car, van or bike insurance quickly and easily online by the team dedicated to helping you find the right policy. For an insurance quote that cuts the mustard, choose mustard.co.uk. Details online, authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority.
The Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast with Lookers Volvo. The big event is on now with exclusive discounts on approved used Volvos. It's game day, and this is the home of Scottish football. It's Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Good afternoon and welcome to Clyde One Super Scoreboard on the first Saturday of league action in the new year. Celtic have the chance to go 12 points clear when Kilmarnock visit before Rangers respond tomorrow. Jim Goodwin could be doing with an Aberdeen win against St Johnstone while Ross County host Livy, and Hearts are at St Mirren knowing their Edinburgh rivals are under a bit more pressure when they go to Motherwell tomorrow. I'm Gordon Duncan, and joining me in the studio, Gordon DL, Mark Wilson and Hugh Keevins.
You get through all of that, Gordon, without using the word handball.
What handball? Never heard of it.
That's good, because today is Statute of Limitations Day. What happened on Monday is over and done with, because Celtic have a new opponent today, Kilmarnock, at Celtic Park, and a double-digit lead at the top of the league table means a single-minded approach from Ange Postecoglou's side. You don't need to ask for clarification of what that 12-point lead means. It means that Rangers must win at Tannadice tomorrow afternoon, or there really is nothing left to talk about.
Yeah, well, we're back to resembling something like a normal week now, with 4 terrific fixtures today, followed by 2 tomorrow, and Hugh's right, a chance for Celtic to put themselves 12 points ahead. We've got a couple of managers in Lee Johnson and Jim Goodwin under a bit of pressure, desperate for a win this weekend. We've got it all ahead of us.
Looking forward to it. I think it's a good fixture card this weekend. Gordon starts today, obviously. Some good ties there. I think we'll get plenty of goals. Agree with Mark. I think it's an important weekend for some managers. I think you're looking at Goodwin. I think you're looking at the house manager Johnson. Motherwell manager Hamill needs a win. And obviously Malcolm Mackay would like to start climbing the table. He's bottom.
Strap yourselves in then. Hopefully another dramatic Saturday here in Scottish football. We'll build up to kick-off, we'll take you through the action, and then the most important bit, it's your chance to have your say when those final whistles go round about 5 o'clock. You can stay in touch until then on Twitter at Clyde SSB, but in the meantime let's get stuck right in with the pre-match build-up, starting at Celtic Park. Kilmarnock the visitors, and Gabriel is watching on.
Yes, I'm here, Gordon, and after emerging from Monday's Old Firm with their 9-point lead intact, Celtic remain in complete control of this title race. I spoke to Ange Postecoglou yesterday, and the message from him was clear. There are 18 games in this league left to play, 54 points up for grabs, and his men are aiming to claim every single one of them, and they know that the destiny of the league trophy is firmly in their hands. Don't forget, we are more than halfway through this campaign, and the defending champions have only dropped points in 2 matches. As you said, up today are Kilmarnock, a team that the Hoops hammered 5-0 in Ayrshire back in October, but a side that have undoubtedly improved since then. Well, what about team news for the Hoops? There are 3 changes from the 2-2 draw at Ibrox on Monday. Greg Taylor is of course missing through injury, whilst Matt O'Reilly and James Forrest drop to the bench. Alexandra Bernabei is preferred to Josip Juranovic at left back, whilst Jota and Aaron Moy return to the lineup. It's a 4-3-3 formation as ever for the Hoops. Joe Hart is in goal. Alistair Johnson continues at right back with Cameron Carter-Vickers and Carl Stallfeld in the middle of defence. Bernabei is on the left hand side. The midfield 3 is captain Callum McGregor, Reo Hatate and Aaron Moy, and the front 3 Jota, Dazen Maeda and Kyogo Furuhashi. On the bench, Bain, Giacomakis, Abada, Jens, Turnbull, Kobayashi, O'Reilly, Forrest and Juranovic. Now, as I said earlier, Killie have improved recently. They're up to 9th in the table. They've only lost 1 of their last 5 games, although Derek McInnes knows today is the toughest task in Scottish football. McInnes also makes 3 changes to the team that drew 0-0 with St Mirren on Monday. Chris Stokes, Alan Power and Kyle Vassell all come in, whilst Dan Armstrong, Christian Deutsch and Blair Alston drop to the bench. The team is as follows. Sam Walker in goal, looks like a back five. Lewis Mayo on the right, Joe Wright, Ash Taylor and Chris Stokes in the middle, Bren Crescene on the left. Alan Power and Liam Polworth will be in the middle with Rory McKenzie just in front of them, and Scott Robertson and Kyle Vassell up top. The substitutes are Hemming, Sanders, Waters, McEnroy, Lyons, Alston, Armstrong, Murray and Deutsch. The referee at Celtic Park is Nick Walsh, and as you say, the job for Ange Postecoglou and Celtic is quite clear. Can they move 12 points clear?
I mean, you should know more than anyone, Hugh, not to just base football matches on paper and throw out wild generalised predictions. However, you've got the best home record in the league against the worst away record in the league. It's a Kilmarnock side that have no wins on the road, only 2 draws on the road, and that would be before you get to the simple fact that Celtic Park tends to be a different proposition anyway. So it's going to be a huge challenge for Derek McInnes, to say the least. Amazing.
I actually read this morning Derek saying that he would possibly take a win in the cup tie next weekend over Celtic rather than get a result at Celtic Park today. Don't quite follow the logic there, but it's quite simple, Gordon. If you're a pragmatist, Celtic have had 1 defeat in 52 matches, covering last season and this season so far. Ange Postecoglou has a team who are the kings of consistency. The changes that he has made today are all understandable. Johnson had to retain his place at full-back after his display at Ibrox. Bernaby had to come in rather than Juranovic at left-back because Juranovic simply didn't do enough to justify starting this game. It's time to give Matt O'Reilly a bit of a rest, and Aaron Moy, given his performance against Hibs at Easter Road 10 days ago, fully deserves to start this match. And the front three of Jota, Kyogo, Maeda is a stronger front three than Celtic started with at Ibrox on Monday. So everything points towards a Celtic victory. If Celtic don't win, it's Celtic's fault.
Yeah, what do you make of the teams today, Gordon and Mark?
Yeah, very, very strong from Celtic. I don't really give Kilmarnock much hope, but look, football's a funny game. You can go up there, Celtic can have an off day, 1 or 2 decisions go your way, you can grab a goal, you can hold on, you can ride your luck. I would need all that for Kilmarnock to leave Celtic Park this afternoon with any points at all. I just think there's bags of pace, bags of energy, bags of goals. 2 full-backs will be high up the pitch, it'll be attack after attack, and I'm expecting a lot of goals at Celtic Park this afternoon.
Yeah, team for Celtic. I don't think there's many surprises in there. Bernaby obviously coming in. Hughes right with the front three. I believe that looks a stronger front three than did start at Ibrox last week. You have to go back 5 years from when Kelly got anything at Celtic Park in that season, 17-18. They managed to get a couple of draws. I can't see it today. You look at Kilmarnock this season, goals against joint last with 33, goals for, I think of the second 17-4. That's going to be a tall order for this Kilmarnock team.
Effectively have a 10-point lead, Mark, because of the goal difference. They are 20 goals better off than Rangers. Now, if Gordon Dale's right, and I think he is, the prospect is of Celtic scoring a lot of goals against Kilmarnock today to send that goal difference into the stratosphere, and that's what they should be aiming for. They've got the home crowd. The thrill of scoring at the very end against Rangers always feels like a moral victory to the team that gets the late equaliser. So Celtic will come out to a tremendous reception. They have a team that is far and away better than Kilmarnock. It's now up to Celtic.
Suppose you never know. We've seen many of those stuffy, difficult to break down afternoons, so we'll see what happens on this occasion. Let's hear from the management though, Ange Postecoglou and then Derek McInnes.
We played well that day, but also I think Derek's kind of solidified them since then, and they've become a lot more sort of structured, and obviously when you come up as a team, it's obviously hard in the early stages, and they're a lot more like I said, consistent. They'll be a tough test for us. Again, it comes down to us making sure that we, have the tempo, intensity in the game that we know we need to have, and put them under pressure for the 95 minutes of the game. That's still going to be the kind of key cornerstone of our sort of success.
Every manager in the Premier League will look at Celtic and the challenges that they face, and it makes you question formations and the like. There's more familiarity about us as a squad. I think we were just rushed. The window had just closed. We were just putting our squad together. We were trying to familiarise ourselves with everybody. We still had a few out injured, and while you're always tested with injuries, suspensions, you know, I do think there's more confidence in the team. I think there's more familiarity, as I said, and I think we've got to try and show that we're more ready for this one than certainly we were the last one.
So looking forward to that one then, Celtic against Kilmarnock. Let's go around the rest of the grounds for team news. St Mirren against Hearts, David Friel.
Yeah, Gordon, known as the Smiza Stadium, but I think we should call it a fortress, given St Mirren's recent home records. Fascinating game this. Hearts in really good form, full of confidence after that 3-0 win over Hibs on Monday. But as I said, they're facing a St Mirren side who are unbeaten in the league in 9 home games, and they'll have a chance to make it 10 today. Looking back, Motherwell, the only team to win here in the league this season. That was away back in July on the opening day of the season. Great record, and I think it's fair to say this could be one of the biggest games of St Mirren's season. They're 5th, 5 points behind Hearts, but they have a game in hand, so a win today could be huge for them. I think Stephen Robinson, he'll be trying to temper expectations. I still think he'd love a top 6 finish, but they are pushing up there. It's also the first of a double header between these two. A return at Tynecastle next Friday night in a rearranged game. As I say, St Mirren unbeaten in 5, but 4 have been draws, so I think Stephen Robinson wants to take that wee extra edge today and get the win. And it will be an emotional occasion as well. Frank McGarvey passed away sadly last weekend. There's going to be a minute's applause for him before the game. Such a much loved figure at St Mirren, I think, so that will be an emotional occasion. As for the team, Ethan Erhahon is suspended for St Mirren after that red card in the 0-0 draw against Kilmarnock. Declan Gallagher, I think he's out with a back injury, and Eamon Brophy also drops to the bench. So in come Joe Shaughnessy, the club captain, Alec Gogic and Alec Greaves. So St Mirren will line up Trevor Carson in goals, Ryan Strain, Marcus Fraser, Joe Shaughnessy, Charles Dunn and Scott Tanser at the back, Keanu Bacchus, Alec Gogic and Mark O'Hara in midfield, with Alex Grieve and Curtis Main up front. Subs for St Mirren are Urminski, Taylor, Campbell, Flynn, Reid, Kilty, Olusanya and Brophy. As for Hearts, obviously lost Craig Gordon for a year. You know, shocking news for them, but it's going pretty well. They're sitting third. They've 10 points from the last 4 games since the Premiership restart. And Lawrence Shankland, I think they've now got a Player of the Year contender. He's now in 18 goals for the season. Scored again against Hearts against Hibs on Monday. He's got the captain's armband. He's flying right now. He must be in line for Scotland recall come the games in March. Hearts are also open to add Australian wonder kid Garang Kuhl on loan from Newcastle. Talks have been taking place in the last couple of days. I think they're still waiting to get that one over the line, but they are pretty confident. Just one change from Derby win. Andy Halliday got a head knock there, he hasn't risked, and Alan Forrest comes in to replace him at left wing back. So Hearts are going to line up Xander Clark in goals, a back 3, Toby Sibbick, Kai Rolls, Alec Cochrane, Michael Smith, Cammy Devlin, Robert Snodgrass and Alan Forrest along the middle, with Josh Ginnelli, Lawrence Shankland and Barry Mackay at the front 3. Subs for Hearts are Stewart, Grant, Keogh, Atkinson, Nielsen, Henderson, Connor Smith and Humphreys. The referee is Chris Graham at the Smiza, and the VAR is Colin Stephen. Let's hear from the management there then, Stephen Robinson.
I thought the Aberdeen game were excellent for 60-65 minutes. I thought in the 2 away games you showed great character, it's hard games, hard surfaces to play football on, and you know we showed a lot of character to come out with points, especially playing practically 90 minutes with 10 men, and could have won it later on. So great character, a lot of quality along the way as well, and you know we want to back that up with the result. We hope that we can sort of just solidify our position at home, because we're confident. We know Hearts are a threat. They've got some very, very good players. You look at their injury list and then you look at their bench and still see how strong they are. So that's a credit to Robbie and the club for backing him in his recruitment. A tough game. We have to be right at the very top of our game, but as I say, we hold no fear.
It won't be a quiet technical area today. Stephen Robinson opposite Robbie Nielsen.
We want to be challenging up near the top of the league. You know, we are sitting at third at the moment, and you know, I said right at the start of the season, if we could get to the World Cup break in third, then we've done very well because of the amount of games we had. But then to have the injuries we've had on top of that, you know, it's been tough at times, you know, to keep us running about there. But you know, the players have done exceptionally well to be, I think, we're 5 clear of a game in hand.
OK, we're getting to that stage. We've turned the corner. We're in a new year. Is it realistic territory to be talking about managers who need a victory? I wonder if Jim Goodwin is one of them. Dave Galloway?
Well, Gordon, Aberdeen fans can only hope the return of former skipper Graham Shinnie can help stop the slump that's seen them lose 4 on the bounce and then draw 0-0 at home to bottom side Ross County. Jim Goodwin also swooped this week for Slovakian midfielder Patrick Mislovic on loan from MSK Zelina with an option to buy in the summer. He's not in the squad today, incidentally, as his international clearance hasn't yet come through. And the Dons could certainly, we all know, do with a boost boost ahead of next weekend's League Cup semi-final showdown with Rangers at Hampden. But St Johnstone come here on the back of 3 successive defeats, which has seen them slip out of the top 6, and Callum Davidson wants his players to wipe the slate clean and start again, both sides with a point to prove then as they aim to get back on track. However, going by previous results between this pair, don't expect a goals rush. In the last 12 meetings between these two, 7 have ended in 1-0 scorelines, and there have been 3 1-1 draws. To the teams then, just the one change for Aberdeen, and it's Shinnie in, back in his old stomping ground, goes straight into the side. Out drops Ramirez, who goes on to the bench. So it's Roos in goals. At the back for Aberdeen, McCrory, Stewart, Scales and Coulson. Ramadani and Shinnie, the sitting midfielders, with Kennedy, Clarkson and Duke further forward. The main man up top, Majowski. Substitutes for the Dons: Lewis, Morris, Barron, Bissauin, Watkins, Hayes, Duncan, Richardson and Ramirez. 3 changes for St Johnstone. Coming in, former Don Considine, as well as Gallagher and McPherson. Out drop Phillips, Brown and Clark from the starting lineup. So Saints go with Matthews in goal, a back 3 of Mitchell, Gordon and Considine. Midfield right, McPherson, McGowan and Gallagher, with Carey playing off Murphy and May. Up top, the substitutes for the Saints: Parish, Brown, Phillips, Crawford, Wotherspoon, Kusherievi, Baer, Clark and O'Halloran. Looking at the match officials, it's Graham Granger on VAR duties, and your referee is Ewan Anderson.
Another one should be a cracker there, Aberdeen against St Johnstone. And finally, the Global Energy Stadium, Ross County against Livingston. Fraser Wishart is there.
Yeah, forgot it's called that. Gordon was going to call it Victoria Park, as it was when I played here many years ago. But much changed ground, pitch looking perfect, no wind, conditions absolutely ideal for a game of football today. So no excuses, and a game, as you guys were saying earlier, for Ross County, who sit at the bottom of the table, really could do with a win, and they've got a couple of important games coming up. The form since the World Cup break hasn't been good. 4 games and just 1 goal, so you know what the problem is, and just 1 point. And that point came last week, 0-0 at Pittodrie, and they'll have picked up some confidence from that. But with Kelly and Dundee United picking up points in recent weeks, County are now 3 points adrift at the bottom, and you don't want that gap to grow, because once you get to 6 or 7 points adrift, it becomes really difficult to bridge that gap, where even a couple of victories doesn't lift you off the bottom of the table. So they need points on this one, get Motherwell next week, and they want to get back in touch at least with those teams above them. So an important game, one Malky will want to get the 3 points from. Everyone knows how tough Livy can be. Just watching the players out there warming up, and they themselves not in the best of form. 2 draws in the last 4 games since the World Cup break, so looking for better. Although to be fair, hit by a couple of red cards early in games to key players Holt and Pittman, which hasn't helped, and they're still suspended today. But their early season form sees them still in the top 6. David Martindale's not daft, they're doing well, they're doing okay, but a couple of defeats, a couple of victories for teams below them, and it's dead easy to slip towards the bottom. David's not helped today by injuries to Joel Newbley and Curtis Guthrie, so less options up front, and he'll flood the midfield with his attacking midfield players to support Bruce Anderson up front. 2 changes from that game against Aberdeen last week for Ross County. Johnson goes to the bench and Dander's out completely. In come Cancola and Awura, so they changed from the 5-3-2 they played away last week to their usual 4-2-3-1. Ross Laidlaw's in goals, Conor Randall, Keith Watson, Alex Iacoviti and George Harman at the back. David Cancola and Jordan Tilson sit in midfield, with Awura Edwards, Ross Callahan and Kazim Olaigbe behind Jordan White. Their subs: Ross Monroe, Jack Baldwin, Dominic Samuel, Josh Sims, Callum Johnson, Victor Laturi, William Akio, Jordi Hiwula and Ben Payton. 3 changes from a team that played against Motherwell last time out for Livingston. Out go Obalai and Bahambula onto the bench, and Montano's out completely. I think he's injured. In come Fitzwater, Omiyonga and young Stephen Bradley, who impressed as a sub on Monday night on his debut. Shamal George in goals, Nicky Devlin, Morgan Boys, Jack Fitzwater and James Penrice at the back. 3 across the middle, Sean Kelly sitting with Andrew Shinnie and Stefan Omiyonga either side, with Stephen Kelly and Stephen Bradley wide of the lone striker Bruce Anderson. Only 7 subs for Livy today due to their injuries: Ivan Kovanolov, Jack Hamilton, so 2 keepers, Philip Kankar, Jackson Longridge, Aya Obalai, Dylan Bahambula and Isma Goncalves. And the referee today is Drew Kirkland, and the VAR referee is Don Robertson.
I'm sure we won't hear much about the VAR officials this afternoon, so we don't need to worry about that too much. It is that time on a Saturday. We've already concluded the team news. We've gone around the grounds. The transfer window is well and truly open. It's been open for about a week. Let's take a look at some transfer talk after these. And now just a quick note from our podcast sponsor Lookers, the new name for Taggarts across Glasgow and the West. We are proud to announce that Lookers is now the new name for Taggarts. Taggarts has been part of the Lookers Motor Group for nearly 20 years, and over time, being part of one of the largest multi-franchise dealer groups in the UK and Ireland, has helped Taggarts to provide a great customer experience, value and choice to their customers across Scotland, and that's something that will never change. And now, they've decided though to change the name above the door to move forward as one. You'll find the same great service and friendly faces you've come to know at their Jaguar, Land Rover and Volvo showrooms, working hard to give the best experience every time. You can now browse and shop online for your next car at lookers.co.uk and choose from thousands of used cars in stock with home delivery available. You can also discover the latest new car offers, book a test drive and book your next service online. Although the name has changed above the door, everything else is staying exactly the same, and you can still expect the same great service and friendly faces when you visit in store. Lookers, the new name for Taggarts across Glasgow and the West.
Action as it happens, and your reaction from 5 on the open line. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Hugh Keevins, Mark Wilson, Gordon Dalziel are in the studio. We've got the top team all around the 4 Premiership games today. We'll keep an eye on the lower league fixtures as well, of course. Now at this stage on a Saturday we tend to pull away from the fixtures and get a bit of a discussion, debate going about something else. And I did notice that it's the transfer window. It's about 7 days old. We've not really spoke about it that much because we've been very obsessed with certain incidents from Monday, just in case you hadn't noticed. So maybe a bit of a chance to talk about the transfer dealings. I mean, Fraser Wishart, I know with your PFA Scotland hat on, there's maybe a frustration on your part at times when we flood the game with various imports from elsewhere, but with your Clyde One Super Scoreboard hat on, what have you made of the quiet business so far?
Well, it's been fairly quiet, certainly in the Premiership, but it tends to build up towards the end of the window, and you're right, that's when they tend to look abroad. I'd look to England and try and get loan players, so you expect that in the last few days. But I think at the moment, certainly for the old firm in particular, it's maybe who's going to be perhaps moving out. You know, there's all sorts of rumours about Fredo Morelos, and then the other side of the city, you're looking at Juranovic and Dalziel Maeda. The rumour was that Southampton are going to be watching him. It's amazing what a good World Cup can do, because before the World Cup, you know, Celtic fans were maybe thinking, yeah, he's a good impact player to come off the bench, but he played really well in the World Cup. You know, all of a sudden, good performances like that for him and Juranovic just increase their value, which is great for Celtic, but on the other hand, it does increase the sort of interest in their players. And I just recall, I think it was maybe in December time, that Ange Postecoglou did say something along the lines of, you know, Celtic fans might have to be aware that some of their favourite players might be moving on, and it's maybe not just quite the obvious ones, some players that they really like and Celtic really like, but they might get an offer for them. So I think that'll be intriguing. And I like, similarly, looking at Michael Beale's comments, not looking at loans, so that suggests they're going to look for players who are going to be in the long term, not somebody who'll come in for 5 or 6 months in an attempt to win the league. We've seen them do that with Ramsey, we've seen Celtic do over the years as well. It doesn't really work in most occasions. So that makes sense to me, and he's saying he's spoken to some players already, so that means that they're either in the last 6 months of their contract or he's got permission from the club. So all very interesting, and will come out in the next few days. And I just hope that people don't forget there's the Scottish players out there, some good Scottish players, and don't have too many players that block the way of the good young Scottish players we have at our clubs.
Great music selection as well, and whilst I resist the temptation to crack a joke about I'm Still Standing just going to number 1 in Dingwall, let me bring in David Friel on this topic. David, I suppose let's link this to Celtic today, because they have really made a conscious effort to do, I mean, there's early business and then there's what Celtic have done. You know, things are now tied up, it seems, before the transfer window opens. It gives them time. Even if there hadn't been time, Ange Postecoglou's never shy in putting players straight in anyway. So we've seen Alistair Johnson go in. He keeps his place today. Josip Juranovic is on the bench again. So how do you see that one playing out?
I see it playing out, Gordon, that Celtic are hoping for a bit of a bidding war for Josip Juranovic. I think he's in the last weeks of his Celtic career. I do think he will go in this window, but I think it will all be dependent on Celtic getting the offer and the player getting the offer that he wants. I think ideally Josip Juranovic would probably go to Italy or Spain. That's kind of what I'm being told, that he'd rather go abroad than stay in the UK. So I think it will come down to who bids for him. I think there's no coincidence that Alistair Johnston keeps his pace. I think Celtic are now preparing for life after Juranovic, and I think that's fair enough. And as you're saying, Ange Postecoglou, I remember a couple of months ago he spoke about working 2 or 3 windows in advance, and you think to yourself, right, well, that's wishful thinking, but I think he actually does. You know, as you're saying, he's already signed 3 players. We're just into January. I do think some more will come in terms of Celtic, but I think it will be more the focus now will be on outgoings. Juranovic will be one of them, but I do think there's a lot of squad players there that can be shipped out, and I think Celtic will actively be looking to do that right now.
We discussed it during the week, didn't we? You know, would Alistair Johnston keep his place? If you're just talking about, well, he played well last week, you know, it's a quite a straightforward equation. But when you add in that you've got this Croatian international, finished third at the World Cup, meant to be attracting interest, what are you doing with him now? Is he now on this? Is he just sitting waiting for this bid? And if it doesn't come, or if it doesn't come to the end of the window, does he not play for Celtic again? How does this work?
The only name I've heard that linked to Juranovic has been Monza in Serie A, and the fee being talked about was £7 million. Now, I understand that he might want to go abroad, and Serie A is an attractive proposition, but not necessarily at a club like Monza, where life will be a bit of a struggle, and the money is not anything like the kind of money that Celtic thought they might get for Juranovic. He's in an unfortunate position. He now has to bide his time, hope that a bigger club than Monza come along, hope that there's better money involved. So he's in an unfortunate position. With Dalziel Maeda, I think there comes a point where Celtic, as a club, are obliged to keep the best players. And, you know, if Juranovic went, the replacement is already there, in-house, Alistair Johnston. But Dalziel Maeda, I said it when he scored at Ibrox on Monday. People said he wasn't a natural goal scorer. He scored a fabulous goal against Hibs at Easter Road, and a few days later he follows it up with a very, very good finish. We know Morelos made the mistake. Tavernier was very poor in terms of trying to defend the goal, but Dalziel Maeda really took it well at Ibrox. I think Celtic are obliged to keep him on the premises. If Juranovic goes, that's a different story.
I was listening to Hugh there. I totally agree with him, trying to keep your best players, and Maeda right now is falling into that category. But if you look at Celtic's squad overall, I think David Friel's correct in what he says. As much as Postecoglou, I think Celtic fans have loved the transfer windows. He's brought in quality. They've improved it. Everyone, you could maybe say maybe 1 or 2 out the full signings haven't hit the ground running. The rest have made massive impacts. But as a club, and the amount of players, and you've got players, Mark and I were looking at, players out on loan as well, the wage bill, everything, somewhere along the line you've got to balance the books. Now, if money come in from a Premiership club like Southampton for Maeda, then I think you would have to look at that.
I actually don't think you even, no offence, you don't even need to go as far as wage bills, balancing the books, counting the players, Mark. You just have to listen to what Ange Postecoglou said. He said it clearly multiple times about get ready to see some of your favourites leave. It might be Juranovic, this might Maeda, maybe a little bit of speculation, or perhaps Giakoumakis.
Yeah, I think you'll see at least one of those go in this transfer window. And I think it's pretty refreshing. We've spoken about it in the show before, how you don't really hear a manager say that. Be prepared to see your favourites go, because he wants this squad to keep evolving and be the best they possibly can be. Now that means bringing in guys like Alistair Johnston, who he thinks is a ready-made replacement for Juranovic, Iwata, Kobayashi, who he thinks are going to have an impact in the team, which then frees up players to go elsewhere. That is right. You look at the Celtic squad, 39, first team players. Now 10 of them are out on loan just now. You've got 29 at the club at the minute. Now, of course, there's some injured, but that's a big squad to be carrying, and I think Ange Postecoglou will be desperate to trim that, because here's another problem, and you maybe see this sometimes when you're in the inside. If you're a manager or a coach and you've got 29 first team players, if everyone's fit, and you're trying to put on a decent session that resembles something like Matchday, it becomes pretty difficult. Then you need to start dividing your squad and sending others to train, maybe do a bit with the fitness coach, which then upsets, the full apple cart. So I think Ange Postecoglou will want to trim away some of the players that aren't getting game time, loaning them out or selling them on. But those big ones, Juranovic, Giakoumakis, Maeda, I think one of them will be gone.
With regard to Maeda, though, if you allow him to go, and I accept Gordon's point about the money that might be on offer from Southampton, another club who are in severe danger of relegation, if you take the money and he goes, you had better have someone who is as good, if not better than him. Otherwise,
Haksabanovic, maybe.
Well,
I think that's the guy's point, isn't it?
But otherwise, you may risk weakening the team.
What did you make, David, of Michael Beale? One thing that I think everyone can say about Michael Beale is he's very clear in his press conferences. He doesn't hold much back. He always tries to give an in-depth explanation about things. And certainly that was the case on transfers, making it pretty clear that he's already met a couple and no more loans at the moment.
Yeah, I thought the loan thing was pretty pertinent given what happened last January with Amad Diallo and Aaron Ramsey. Yeah, I think he's been pretty clear and concise in what he's wanting to do. I think meeting players, I think it's the best thing to do. As someone said earlier on, talking about, you can get Zoom calls and all that sort of stuff. He's always wanting to meet them, look in the eye and see if they're good enough and they want to be at Rangers. It's just be interesting to see where he targets, because again, Rangers have a huge squad. They've got a lot of players out injured at the moment, but for me, the kind of one area Michael Beale, I don't know who he's been speaking to, would be midfield. I just think Rangers need legs and energy, and also look at guys like Stephen Davis, Scott Arfield, Ryan Jack. Have Rangers seen the best of them? I think probably. So I think that Benny Ray be looking to strengthen, but yeah, I think he's clearly got an idea of what he wants to do, and I think he's quite right to just say no loans at all, because I don't think it would do Rangers any good.
Gordon, what did you make of that yesterday? Because Michael Beale talking about no loans. He's broken his headphones. Look at this. Look at the state of this guy. Honestly,
he panicked when you brought him in. He
tried to put his headphones on in a hurry, and he's broken them. Producer Callum, are they back?
I'm fine. Yeah,
no more loans. What did you make of that?
I don't know about that. I think that there's a market there to bring loans in with the option of permanently signing them gone, because I think it gives you the option to look at the player, get a feel for the players, see if he fits into your structure, see if he feels home at the club and can he play at that level. The Scottish game is completely different, we know that, but he seems to have set this out, the fact that no, I want to get guys in here, I want to work with them, I've got a project, it's going to be long, I'm going to take the club forward. I was talking about steps last week, that he wants to go another 10 steps. He's very ambitious, Michael Beale, you've got to say. He's a massive club that has to start performing. I think the transfer window's massive for him because of the pressure that his counterpart puts on him. Postecoglou is good in the transfer market. Can Michael Beale be the same?
Just listening to it though, Fraser, you correct me if you disagree, but it didn't sound like Michael Beale was saying he will never sign loan players or that he's against it. But right now he feels like he wants more certainty because Tillman's on loan, James Sands is on loan, Ryan Jack, Scott Arfield, their contracts are up, so Stephen Davis, but his season's over anyway. Alfredo Morelos and Ryan Kent, we know their situation. So rather than this being a blanket ban on loans, is this just an acknowledgement that Rangers need a bit more certainty?
Yeah, I think it's maybe planning beyond this season as well, Gordon. You're absolutely right. There's so many players out of contract, and whether they get a fee for some of them in this window or not is another matter. The older players, it's not, so they may well leave at their own volition or not get off the new contract at the end of the season. So huge turnaround, and if you want to lessen that by getting the 3 players in just now that are going to be here for 3 years or 3.5 years or something, then that starts to build your squad. There's also the issue over how much money you spend just now. I mean, quite often the loan signings, when the old firm are neck and neck, and I've seen it over many years, and it's to just get that star player to come in and try and turn that around. David was talking about Ramsey and Diallo. We've seen Robbie Keane, and we've seen Bellamy, who came in and individually were brilliant, but Celtic didn't win the league that year, and Rangers didn't win the league this year. So, there's that gamble for a club as well, and when you're looking at it, 9 points, Rangers won't be saying this, but it's 9 points, as you were saying, it's 10 really, with given the goal difference. They're not going to catch that up, even if they bring in a top name player on a short term loan. So it's a lot of money to not catch the team above you. So that might be something that's in the back of their mind as well. But it sounds to me as if he's looking at players to come in for the next 2 or 3 years, and try and be part of the team and just start that rebuilding process just now with 2 or 3 players in, rather than having to go for 7 or 8 in the summertime. It lessens your burden in the summer.
As you said, Hugh, the biggest shock about all of this, we're now 18 hours on from last night's show, and you said, hold on a minute, how can Michael Beale have met 2 or 3 signing targets and no one has spotted him.
Yeah.
No one's taken a picture and stuck it on social media. I thought maybe last night that would tease someone out of the woodwork, could say, actually, I clocked him, I know who it was, I know where it was. And yet nothing. This guy must move around in secret.
I looked at social media this morning. I saw a photograph of Tomoki Iwata leaving the airport in Tokyo, and then I saw another photograph of Tomoki Iwata arriving at Glasgow airport. And that's the way people live their lives now. Footballers are under 24-hour surveillance, and somehow Michael Beale has managed to speak to 3 football players in the city of Glasgow, I assume, and nobody knows they're there. I thought that his observation on the matter was terrific, that he didn't want Zoom calls. He wanted to look at them face to face, eye to eye, man to man, and find out if he liked the cut of their jib. So he's very serious about their business, and I think that he shows signs of saying, look, loans are not going to get us anywhere. We've tried it, it's not working. We need to get serious with Celtic, and we need to get players in who are ours, the way Celtic do. And so that's why the 3 have been there. And I await David Field's resignation for not spotting any of them.
I think Tomoki Iwata, he's at Celtic Park. He'll do the whole introduction to the crowd, probably half time, maybe before the game. Gabriel can tell us. I think it'll be half time. I liked his look yesterday. See that sort of cream polo neck, the black jacket. I think you could pull that off for the next transfer window.
He looks not unlike me, actually.
On that note, let's go back around the grounds next, because kick-off is just 20 minutes away.
The team with the biggest support in Glasgow and the West. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Hugh Keevins, Mark Wilson, Gordon DL in the studio. The top team around the grounds, where they've got about 15 minutes to go until kick-off. Celtic against Kilmarnock. We've given you the teams from that one. No huge surprises. Alistair Johnston keeps his place at right back. Juranovic on the bench. Aaron Moy into the midfield in place of Matt O'Reilly, and Jota does start this one with James Forrest obviously making way after the game at Ibrox on Monday. We will go back there before kick-off. Let's take a look at some of the other fixtures, Hugh, and I suppose before we even get to the on-field action, St Mirren Hearts today, a nice poignant moment before the game, with a minute's applause after the sad passing of Frank McGarvey.
Well, Frank, as well as being a Celtic legend with 113 goals for Celtic, he was twice at St Mirren, won trophies with St Mirren, scored bundles of goals for St Mirren, made 300 appearances for St Mirren. So his life in Scotland was split between Celtic Park and Love Street as it was then. And I hope that some of Frank's children are at the game today to bathe in the warmth of the response that the crowd will show. Because Frank was really, as well as being a great goal scorer, he's one of Scottish football's terrific characters on and off the park. And it's desperately sad for the 4 children to lose their father on New Year's Day. But Frank lived a great life as a football player, and he entertained an awful lot of people. So I hope the family are there to enjoy the moment.
And when the action does start, David Friel, Hearts are maybe a good case study of just how fickle we can be. In case anyone needs reminding, it feels like there was so much doom and gloom around Hearts because they were having a bit of a sticky spell. They were getting some heavy defeats in Europe, and Robbie Nielsen, I think he said it in the clip we played earlier, he always maintained throughout that if they can just get to the World Cup break near enough, third round about that, start getting some players back, which by the way they've had even more injuries since then, but some players coming back, they'd be absolutely fine. And now in the space of a couple of weeks, it does look like everyone's pre-season prediction that Hearts will have third place all their own way is pretty close.
Yeah, I think he was spot on. Look, it's a bit tough one for him today. I spoke earlier about St Mirren's home record. It is formidable, but yeah, I think Hearts are just hitting their groove now, and Craig Gordon's injury was such a blow, but good forward planning from the club, getting Xander Clark in. So Craig's out, but you've got another Scotland international, a Scotland squad keeper in to take his place. And said earlier as well, Lawrence Shankland in the form of his life. Gordon, in with a chance of breaking records. Hugh's talking about Frank McGarvey, a great Scottish striker. John Robertson's another one, and no Hearts player since 1992 has actually scored 20 goals in a season. Lawrence Shankland's only 2 away from getting there. So yeah, things are going in the right direction for Hearts. They've recruited really well. They're still looking, they're still obviously in the market for more. I think Robbie Neilson will add 3 or 4 more in this window as well. But well, I say today will be tough. I do think they'll motor on and finish third, no problem.
Yeah, Lawrence Shankland, Gordon, I know you appreciate an old-fashioned goal-getter, and it looks like he's one of them. I noticed Kyogo was Player of the Month for December yesterday. He scored 4 goals in the month of December. So did Lawrence Shankland. You would imagine he wouldn't have been far off that conversation. That's the...
Yeah, and what makes it special for him as well, Gordon, I've been in the position, let me tell you, and you do think about it. Your manager believes in you that much. You're a centre forward, you're there to score goals. He's a captain, he's a leader now. You know, Craig Gordon's out, he's been given the armband, and he looks to me like he's thriving on that. It's another bit of confidence, another bit of belief. I looked at Lawrence Shankland coming at Hearts at the beginning and sort of doubted it a little bit. You know, I thought, I don't know if he's at that level to go and score the amount of goals. He has been absolutely brilliant for Hearts, and he'll keep scoring goals because his movement's getting better, he's composed, he knows how to take a penalty kick, he's leading by example just now, and he's a certainty to be in the next squad.
I hope that Stevie Clark is paying attention to what's happening at Hearts, because I think Xander Clark in a very short space of time has shown, or should I say reminded everyone, what a really good goalkeeper he is. And our priority now is to find a replacement for Craig Gordon. As also Shankland, of course, because of his goals, you have to be in contention. You simply have to be. But what about Robert Snodgrass? Robert Snodgrass has been a revelation.
He's not hung up the old
he's
Scotland boots, I think.
He's retired.
Well,
certainly,
you and I have got a better chance.
Certainly Shankland, I think, is in the running for a recall. 15 goals, 19 appearances. What a turnaround that is in his career coming to Hearts.
Scott Brown had retired, incidentally, for international football. He came back.
Oh well. Pittodrie should be an interesting one. Dave Galloway, are the locals getting a bit restless? I mean, a very quick glance at the league table shows you Aberdeen are in 4th, so you might think, what's all the drama? But the recent run's been tough, and from all the way down here, I detect that there are a few grumblings.
And those grumblings are getting louder with each game that goes by that Aberdeen lose or fail to win. Interesting to note right now that after the number of games Aberdeen have played this season, they've actually got less points, 1 point less than they had after the same number of games under Stephen Glass last season. Looking at today's game, I think how the match starts could prove very influential. If Aberdeen are quickly out of the traps, get their noses in front, that could give them something to build on, and the so-called Red Army would get behind the team. But the team were booed off the pitch here, remember, on Monday after a pretty tepid goalless draw with Ross County, and St Johnstone will know, that if they can frustrate their hosts, it won't take much for the fans to turn on their team. And Saints, incidentally, have a pretty decent record at Pittodrie. They've only lost on 1 of their last 6 league visits, so I'd say a fascinating afternoon.
They're not the only ones, Fraser Wisharts. I think Gordon Dalziel knows fine well Motherwell are in a bit of a sticky place. And the arithmetic's still fine for Ross County, but this has to go down as the type of game you're looking to take something from if you do want to stay in the division.
Yeah, absolutely, Gordon, and the game against Motherwell next week before we get into the cup ties as well, because although they're apparently 3 points adrift at the bottom, if they win today, then they're really putting pressure on the teams above them. But also, even Livingston would be 6 points off the bottom of the table, and I think Hibs would be 5 off the bottom of the table on a poor run as well. So a win today just gives them that gets them back in touch and gives them that kind of bit of comfort going into a big game next week. And I think I was talking to Roy McGregor, I always enjoy Roy's company, had a chat with him for 10-15 minutes beforehand, and he said they were really pleased with the squad they put together, really pleased with the form before the World Cup, but they've only scored 1 goal and got 1 point since the World Cup, and that was that draw that Dave was talking about as well. And you're talking about Lawrence Shankland scoring 4 goals in December, the top scorer across all competitions in about 24-25 games for Ross County. He's got 4 goals, John White and Owura Edwards, so clearly that's the problem. Last year they had Reagan, Charles Cook and Hungbo, who kicked on after 10-12 games and were absolutely outstanding, supplying White to the middle, and they haven't quite kicked off this season, especially after this World Cup. So a key few weeks, I think, for Ross County. As long as they can keep in touch, they'll put pressure on the teams above them, because everybody's dropping points all over the place. So a couple of wins for Ross County, everything's rosy. A couple of defeats the next 7 days, and I think the pressure begins to build.
Yes, the mood can all change in one afternoon, and that's what lies ahead. We're looking forward to it greatly. The 3 o'clock kickoffs are not far away, and we will go back to Celtic Park next.
The winning team all season long. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Kick-off fast approaching in the 3 o'clock games. Teams about to come out at Celtic Park. Let's go back there, get a build-up, get a refresh of the team news with Gabriel.
Yeah, thanks Gordon. Quite an emotional You'll Never Walk Alone was just belted out around Celtic Park. Highlights of Frank McGarvey's greatest goals beamed around the stadium. As I said, the crowd emotional, and up for this one, Celtic against Kilmarnock. Ange Postecoglou's men looking to get back to winning ways after that draw with Rangers in the Old Firm on Monday. They're looking to extend their lead at the top of the table to 12 points as well, which would be a huge lead this early in the season. I'll give you a quick run through of the teams again. Postecoglou has made 3 changes from the team that came out at Ibrox. In goal, it's Joe Hart, a back 4 of Alistair Johnson, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Carl Stahlfeld and Alexandro Bernabei. In midfield 3 of captain Callum McGregor, Reo Hatate and Aaron Moy, with Jota, Dyson Maeda and Kyogo Furuhashi the front 3. The substitutes, Bain, Yakimakis, Abada, Jens, Turnbull, Kobayashi, O'Reilly, Forrest and Juranovic. And they did beat Kilmarnock 5-0 a couple of months ago, but Killian much improved since then. Derek McInnes has named a team in a 5-3-2 formation. Sam Walker in goal. We think it'll be Lewis Mayo, right wing back, with Ben Cresceni, left wing back, Chris Stokes, Ash Taylor and Joe Wright in the middle of defence. Alan Power, Liam Polworth and Rory McKenzie in the middle, with Scott Robinson and new signing Kyle Vassell up top. On the bench for them, Hemmings, Sanders, Waters, McEnroy, Leons, Alston, Armstrong, Murray and Deutsch. The 2 teams just emerging from the tunnel in front of me, led out by captain Callum McGregor. And as I say, Gordon, the task is simple for Celtic. Can they move 12 points clear? And they want to put on a show as well. A few goals, that's what the crowd here want. A packed out Celtic Park. Can't wait for this one. Kickoff is coming up next.
Clyde One Super Scoreboard Goal Flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements. Trade accounts available now. Call them today.
Come on down then, Gordon Dalziel, Mark Wilson, Hugh Keevins. How is this one going to pan out today? How are the rest of the games looking on your ACCA?
There was an edge to Ange Postecoglou yesterday and all the things he had to say to the press. I think he's been in the dressing room this afternoon saying, look, let's get this thing over the line as soon as possible. And they have the chance today not only to get 3 points at home but to score a few goals. So I take Celtic to win. I take Hearts to beat St Mirren and Paisley, a draw at Ross County and Livingston, and Aberdeen will surely get the first win in 6 against St Johnstone.
I'm very similar to Hugh. I think Celtic will stroll to victory this afternoon against Kilmarnock. I think Hearts will beat St Mirren to consolidate 3rd at the end of play. I think Ross County will get a win against Livingston up there in Dingwall, and Aberdeen surely will beat St Johnstone.
Full house at Celtic Park for me. I think St Mirren Hearts will be an absolute cracker. Draw. I said to Mark, I fancy my one today, my nap is Ross County to beat Livingston. They need a result. And surely Jim Goodwin, with new players in, well backed, at Pittodrie, Red Shed, Dave Galloway, Aberdeen to win.
The Celtic tend to set the tone early, and then you get a feeling for it, because I wouldn't argue that this looks like an open and shut case of Celtic winning and winning comfortably if you look on paper. But you just remind yourselves of some of similar games like this against similar opposition. You'll remember beating Livy 2-1 at home just before Christmas. The home game before that was the 2-1 against Ross County. I think when Motherwell came earlier in the season, it also finished 2-1. You know, there have been just 1 or 2 occasions, Hugh, where it just, never look in danger of losing the game as such or dropping points, but it's just not always easy to go and blow teams away.
You'll tell in the first 10 minutes how Celtic are. They tend to be that way. They set the tone early at Easter Road. They were a couple of goals ahead by half time. They were clearly dominant. They dominated the first half at Ibrox and then lost their way in the second half. So you can't second guess, but Ange Postecoglou has picked a very, very strong team, and the bench is ridiculously strong. Celtic can only be the winners against Kilmarnock. Otherwise they've had the off day to end all off days.
The players that he's brought in, though, you know, Moy will be hungry to get back into the fold and try and kind of make that position his own, put his name in the team sheet before O'Reilly's. You look at the left hand side of the forward three when Jota coming back in. Some say he's went off the boil, but it comes on at Ibrox and he affects the game, so he'll be desperate for a good performance. And the left back, how's Bernabei feeling when he could have went on last week at Ibrox? He was overlooked, he saw the guy ahead of him have a nightmare, but now he is in. He's got to make that left back position his own while Greg Taylor's injured.
Do we now know how these pan out, Gordon? Is there any way this game doesn't unfold with Kilmarnock sticking everyone or as many people as they can behind the ball, trying to make it stuffy, and if it even comes close to working, if Celtic's advantage is limited to even a couple, we are guaranteed to get calls at 5 o'clock bemoaning the fact that Kilmarnock did that.
Look, they'll go there with the game plan, and Derek McInnes is every right, because you're up against it. Celtic are going to have the majority of the ball. Underdogs can win football games, Gordon, let's not be kidded here, but it's going to take some bit of luck. Celtic to be right off it today. I'm with the guys. I think the freshening up from Monday's game with Jota in there, Bernabei down the left hand side, Moy, who would have been disappointed not to start. I just think they'll have far too much. Johnson right back, I thought he was brilliant in his debut, making his debut at Celtic Park as well. It will be difficult because Derek will have them well organised. It may get to the second half, it may be patient, they might get an early goal, I don't know, but the one thing I'm sure is, like every Celtic fan in there, I am positive Celtic are going to have 3 points by the end of the
Great to hear from David Friel just prior to kick off as well. He's telling us it's absolutely packed at St Mirren against Hearts.
Good stuff, yeah.
Always good to hear.
There is a game in the making. You know, St Mirren, they are the one in Celtic's record of one defeat in 52 games. It was at St Mirren, and Hearts are coming in terrific form. The way they beat Hibs, dismissed Hibs. Shankland, to make him captain, is an inspired move. Snodgrass has been an inspired signing. Xander Clark has taken away a lot of the disappointment following Craig Gordon's awful injury. So that's a heck of a game in the making. For
all the talk about Hearts this season and then Aberdeen, if St Mirren beat Hearts today, they go within 2 points. You know? I mean, what a job that is.
And a game in hand.
Yeah. Unbelievable job Stephen Robinson's doing there. So that'll be a cracker.
Right, strap yourselves in then. It's never a dull day in Scottish football, that's for sure. Always high drama, always controversy, always big talking points. Kilmarnock have been claiming for a penalty inside the first 20 seconds.
Oh no,
that would have been popular. So we'll keep an eye on everything that's happening out there this afternoon. Whilst we get ourselves up and running, Hugh Keevins, if you don't mind, let's do it.
The first half teaser
with the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
There is a wonderful old-fashioned Scottish football word in this. I will explain it for younger people like Mark Wilson. Name the last 7 players who've scored at least a brace in an Old Firm game. Now, a brace, children, if you're listening carefully, is 2 goals. Name the last 7 players who've scored at least a brace in an Old Firm game.
I like it. It's simple. What are the answers though? At Clyde SSB. Send all of the answers on one tweet over there to at Clyde SSB and do it before everyone else does. That is the aim of the game. So get cracking on that first half teaser. Let's see how many you can come up with, and let's see how quickly you can do it. At Clyde SSB. No goals anywhere in Scotland to tell you about, as far as I can remember. Just the one postponement, I think, so far due to the weather, and it was a cracker as well. It was a top of the table clash in League 2 between Dumbarton and Stirling Albion. That is off. We have had our first goal down the leagues, the League 2. Bonnyrigg Rose 0, Albion Rovers 1. Charlie Riley after 7 minutes. Great start to the season for him, and picking up where he left off, I should say, in the first half of the campaign. So Charlie Riley's got Albion Rovers 1 up. No goals anywhere else, and I will keep you up to speed on whatever is taking place. Miovski's gone through for Aberdeen, but Remy Matthews blocking his effort. How Aberdeen could do with a quick start.
Yeah, anything would suit Jim Goodwin to have 4 defeats in the bounce and then play Ross County at Pittodrie and fail to score a goal. No wonder they're doing
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
Up and running nice and early, I like it. St Mirren 1, Hearts 0. It was Strain with a free kick. He's found the back of the net beyond Xander Clark. And David Field was telling us that it is packed at the Smiza Stadium, while the home section will be absolutely delighted with that start. 4th minute, Ryan Strain, free kick, and it's St Mirren 1, Hearts 0. It did take a deflection, but was still a great hit, and of course they all count.
Deflection won't bother Stephen Robinson one bit, and the strain is on Hearts now.
I like it. I see what you did there.
Yeah, I've got to say, I did say at 5-3, I thought David was in for a terrific game. Obviously the crowd atmosphere will help that as well. Packed place, but what a start from St Mirren, home side. And if you look at the record, and we touched upon it, Hearts have a big job to do now.
Kelty Hearts have gone 1 up at Jim Duffy's Clyde. Tam Ware, a player that Jim Duffy used to manage, I'm sure. He's scored inside 4 minutes there as well. So Clyde 0, Kelty Hearts 1. Great start though, St Mirren, Mark.
Unbelievable. Stephen Robinson, talking about it 5 minutes ago, the job that he's done there, and he's made it really difficult for teams, especially at the Smiza Stadium, to get any sort of result. Seen that earlier on the season when Celtic went there, and we always refer back to that because we've just seen a Celtic team steamroller everybody almost, and they came undone in that afternoon. But that was down to how St Mirren played, and it's pretty similar today against Hearts. Hearts are by far the favourite. It's been great this season, but St Mirren noses in front.
You can see already, Gordon, the challenge for Kilmarnock, because it's one thing sort of stopping Celtic and taking the ball off them, but if you can do that, can you then keep it for more than a split second? Can you get out? I mean, there was one where the 1-2 wasn't quite right. Kilmarnock intercepted it. I think it was Maeda who got it a bit wrong, but then quick as a flash, Aaron Moy, who's not known even as one of Celtic's best pressers of the ball, he comes in, takes it back off the Kilmarnock back line, and they go again.
I think we're all guilty of that by saying, look, if you're going to defend, when you get the ball, you've got to take care of it. You've got to try and give your defence a bit of a respite. But it's the pressure that Celtic put you under, especially at home. They have trigger points. The minute a ball goes to, say, a left wing back, every player knows his job to cut off. It was the same at Ibrox when they got the goal from Maeda. The minute Morelos get his head down to hit that ball, Celtic players were already in position.
In fairness to Kilmarnock, Mark, it's not 10 men across the edge of the box. They're actually pressing quite aggressively.
Yeah,
maybe 30 yards out. When Celtic get into that attacking third.
Derek McInnes has come up against this often, and he understands you could put 10 men behind the ball. This team's good enough. If you allow them territory, they will break you down in the final third. So he's chose a different option. He's chose to get after the Celtic players. It's a dangerous tactic if you leave space. I'm just looking at rotations with Hatate and Moy and the 2 Celtic fullbacks. He's an all-position player. That's incredibly difficult to pick up. When they keep interchanging, and Johnson's coming in and Burnaby's coming in and Hatate and Moy are going wide. It's difficult. So dangerous, leave a lot of space, but it's brave.
Well, it's a good Kilmarnock shape so far, you'd have to say. It's interesting. We'll keep an eye on how it pans out.
All the more brave because they play Celtic again next weekend in a cup tie, and you don't want to do any psychological damage by losing too heavily at Celtic Park. But Aberdeen made no attempt to play football against Rangers or Celtic, I beg your pardon, and they got dog's abuse from their own fans and everyone else, and Callum McGregor got a late goal anyway. So I commend Derek McInnes for saying, right, okay, within our limits, let's try and make a game of it.
Billy Mackay's opened the scoring for Inverness at Arbroath 0, Inverness 1, and Billy Mackay still scoring goals at that level. He scored many over his years here in Scotland. That's his 10th of the season. Got a hat-trick on Monday, didn't he, against Cove Rangers?
6.
And he's opened the scoring today.
Led to the departure of Jim McIntyre, and then comes Paul Hartley again. What a return that is. 7 months maybe since he was there before. Didn't last long down south.
Straight to work. I seen him last night doing his homework at Starts Park, Dundee and Raith Rovers.
Did you enjoy it last night?
Yeah, I enjoyed the game. I like to sit and watch my old team. I don't like the pitch. It wouldn't have been for me. Too many injuries, Gordon. But great memories here.
What's up with the pitch?
It's AstroTurf now.
All right.
I just sat there and I looked at every sort of a part of the ground and where I used to score my goals and you know, my link-up play and where I used to get presented with my man of match awards, my B&Q vouchers.
I cannot believe you're actually in the Hall of Fame somewhere.
I'm in the Hall of Fame
twice. I know. I just can't believe. You'll need to take me up and show me. Is there something on the wall?
There's statues and everything up there of me.
You'll need to take us up. We'll need to go up one time so I can actually see how people treat you up there. Because I cannot
it was a good
believe
game
it.
though. It was a good game in the Championship last night. Wraith won, Dundee won 1-0 to Wraith at half time, and then Dundee equalised in the second half. Celtic not quite clicking yet in their passing, you have to say. Aberdeen are making the early running. Duke has headed McCrory's cross wide. Queen's Park Championship leaders are one up at Cove, Simon Murray, so not a good start there for Paul Hartley. And Ryan Christie, Scotland international, has equalised for Bournemouth against Burnley in the FA Cup game down there.
Well, I said you should always tell within the first 10 minutes how Celtic are going to be, and you know, Kilmarnock are trying to pick a game of it and Celtic are just slightly off the pace, but you scratch your head. I mean, how could they possibly not win this game with the talent that's on the park and on the bench?
Just mention that Cove versus Queen's Park game, Gordon. I always fascinates me, those two, because the journey both of them have went on, you know, especially Cove coming through a division so quickly, investing a lot of money into it, getting to a certain level, and then obviously Paul left and they found it difficult at that level. But Queen's Park sort of emulating what they were doing, and they've came about it the same way, but had better success in the Championship, and they look to have overtaken obviously Cove now.
I don't know the figures, I don't know what players earn, so I'm going to be very general here, and someone can absolutely pick me up if I'm reading this wrong, but it doesn't look like Cove are over invested for the Championship or anything. It looks like that sort of slowed down a bit. And
well, Fraser Fyvie was a big one when he went to Cove,
and he was there in League 2, was he not?
League 2, and he was reportedly earning more than anybody could dream of at that level, and you could see it with his play. You know, I came up against him, he was head and shoulders above anybody. But then once you've got to the Championship, you're right, it kind of stunted a bit, where Queen's Park have invested, even some of their own players that they bring in, they're looking to get out of this league as soon as possible.
They're still part-time, aren't they, Cove? So that would
Paul was talking about
be as
them
big
going
a clue
full-time next year.
Talking about Championship, it's a big day for my club in there, Ayr United. I'm seeing them slipping down that table and I'm feeling terrible. You know, down to third, they were a pace.
I've never seen an Ayr man so delighted to see his team on the slide. In
case someone does better than
the statue will be erected.
Absolutely.
If they get promoted, the Gordon Dale statue will be torn down.
But they're putting it outside so the pigeons can get at it.
St Mirren fans will be enjoying the start to the game against Hearts. Not only as Ryan Strain put them one up from a free kick, they've started really brightly, looking good for their lead. As for Aberdeen, they could definitely be doing with a quick start. We now know what Matty Kennedy's capable of from free kicks. If we didn't before, it was a stunning effort, wasn't
it? Where did that come from?
Well, he's just curled another one wide.
I mean, it was an outstanding goal, and you just think, I've never seen that before from Matty Kennedy. What was he, 25 yards out into top corner? For a player to do that, you expect to see it a wee bit more.
They've got a good squad up there now. Obviously, the introduction of another two players, an old favourite coming back, old favourite of mine, Shinnie. I wish him all the very best. In his return to Pittodrie, I'm sure he'll do very well. Very talented player, got a lot of positive things to say about him.
I wish we had some sort of player cam on you when Shinnie came up to you.
He wasn't. He was sitting.
Do you remember this?
We reminiscing, shaking.
Do you remember Gordon was very unfair in his criticism of Graham Shinnie after a Scotland game?
Yes.
And then Graham Shinnie pulled him up about it at Pittodrie one day.
Sure, well, set the scene. There's someone between Shinnie and myself, and then it's Alison, and Alison's nudging me going, he keeps looking at you. And then it's half time, obviously we're off air, and he's got his neck round, and I'm thinking, I need to face
I
this.
love that from him. Do you know what? Why not?
Good on
If
him.
you can run your mouth on here.
Yeah,
you would have been so
100%.
nervous.
I was like, me? No, it was that Wilson and Keevins.
Bernaby and Hattati giving the ball away quite often for Celtic in these early stages. Nothing doing in front of goal. Here's a three letters I've not uttered yet today. VAR, a quick check for handball after a Shanklin shot in Paisley, but play on in that one.
There's times, and I'm sure Gordon and Mark will have known it in their career, there are times when you are so overwhelmingly the favourite and so overwhelmingly the better team, it doesn't work out that way. And that's, so far at Celtic Park, it's just not coming off for Celtic.
And the only reason that was the first time, because I think I forgot to tell you, it was so early in the Celtic game. I think they had a quick look, did they, at a Kilmarnock penalty shoot?
Penalty, yeah.
Inside the Celtic box early on. I don't think it obviously didn't come to much, but I don't think there was much of a delay either.
Enough though, if you're in the stadium at Celtic Park, you would have got a wee bit nervous because Kelly player went down.
Someone in the Kilmarnock team management or fan base will say, if that was at the other end, because these are the types of things we hear.
Sure they would have.
Quite often. Derek McInnes will be, I think, delighted, Gordon, with the start. Not to say that they've attacked that often, but they're doing a bit more than people would have expected.
Of course, you don't want to lose an early goal, but in defence of Celtic, we're already saying, oh well, we don't know if they're at it. There's 15 minutes on the clock. The game's hardly warmed up. It takes time. You know that Derek McInnes, very experienced manager, will have them well drilled, well organised, know when to drop off, not leaving space in behind for the pace of the wide men of Celtic. But it becomes tiring if you keep chasing it. But Derek McInnes will be hopeful that his players can just keep the concentration. But I'm not in the camp of, well, we know Celtic, if they're not at it for the first 15 minutes. This is a team with quality players that just can kick into gear.
You're far too kind.
Well, no, that's the thing. This Celtic team finish games stronger than they probably do starting it. That's the thing with this side. So that effect, I think the Celtic teams in the past, you'd be totally right with saying first 10-15 minutes, if they don't get a goal, then they run out of ideas. I think it's the opposite for this side.
Of course it is, because they haven't dropped any other points apart from the Rangers game and the St Mirren game in the last 50 or whatever.
So far too kind. Get Moy off and get O'Reilly on. How long do you need to watch this before
the saying, what is it? They're making heavy weather.
You think he would learn his lesson? Never does.
Shug wants a substitution. Mix it up.
You made I think it's a good point, Mark. Some people might think it's a completely pointless observation, and I couldn't argue too much. That game at Rugby Park when Celtic won convincingly earlier this season, that feels like a lifetime ago. I don't know why. It just
the World Cup made everything feel like a lifetime ago.
Looking back on the results, doing our research like we do, when I saw that I thought, is that this season? Just so long ago. But I remember Celtic being particularly good that day. I thought that could have been a tricky encounter for them. A hot day on that AstroTurf, everything becomes a wee bit sticky when you're trying to play Celtic's fast passing game. They just took Kilmarnock to the cleaners. Some outstanding goals. You remember Jota's one 25 yards out. Giacomakis, I think, scored an overhead kick
that
day.
Morris not also score an overhead kick?
He did, that's right. And Starfelt even get in the act that day, so it was a terrific performance.
What an afternoon it's been for Strain. He's picked up a strain after scoring a free kick, and he's off already. He's scored his free kick. He's holding the old groin area.
That's the headline writers tomorrow.
Off he goes.
Make it easy.
Groin strain.
Groin, there we go. You've written it for them.
So there we go.
Well, that is a blow. Of course, when you go 1-up and the guy that scores you the goal, it has to go off. It disrupts your plans. So a wee bit of a blow for the St Mirren manager there.
Ryan Flynn has come on in his place. So an early change for St Mirren, but they are a goal up. They were good for it. Certainly deserving of their lead in their opening exchanges, and it is the only goal that we've got so far.
Well, Stephen Robinson deserves immense credit for what he's doing at St Mirren. As if beating Celtic wasn't enough, if he holds on to this 1-goal advantage, then he's got 2 points behind Hearts and a game in hand. I mean, this stuff really ought not to be happening for St Mirren.
I think it's all down to their home record, obviously, Hugh. As any manager will tell you, seeing the league outside the top two, win your home games and go and try and pick up points in the road, and St Mirren are certainly doing that in abundance. But still a bit of game time in Paisley yet, especially with the quality of Shankland and the players that Hearts have got at their disposal.
Elgin nil, East Fife 1. Stuart Murdoch on 19 minutes. Hugh, let's take a quick visit to that teaser if you don't mind.
Yeah, name the last 7 players who've scored at least a brace in an Old Firm game, a brace being 2 goals. Name the last 7 who've done that.
Good response actually to that teaser. I can already see some of you making fairly easy work of it, but let's try and point you in the right direction and do some wrong answers if we can. Tell you what, it's a good effort from most that I can see so far. Really good effort. Sean, sorry to do this to you, Mark. Sean's gone for Daniel Kuzan.
No, he's not there.
That was just the one he scored, I think,
Was
when he
it?
shrugged me
Right,
off.
3 about that.
A what? Distill.
Stu C wants to throw in the likes of James Forrest.
No.
Chris Commons.
You'd have thought, but no.
Okay. And I can see what we've gone here. Where was that one I wanted to read out? It's just disappeared for some reason.
I think he is.
I can see a couple of shouts for Henrik Larsson.
Again, you'd have thought so,
Well,
but no.
not in the last 10.
Yeah.
If he ever did so. Not in last 7,
Last
sorry.
7,
Not in
yeah.
the last 7. Right, keep them coming then. At
What?
Clyde SSB.
Why is it called a brace, Hugh? What is the reference here?
You know, it's like Gordon earlier on said that my nap. I don't really know what that means. What is my
sleep?
He's got to sleep high.
No.
I don't know. I really don't know. I just picked it up throughout the years.
Oh.
Brace means a pair of something killed in hunting. Brace has an origin in Old French. So basically, when a player scores 2 goals, it's related to the act of hunting, hence scoring a brace.
There you are. Every day
You've
of
got
school
so much
day.
info in that head, Gordon. That was impressive. Almost like you were reading that.
I couldn't have looked it up that quickly. Surely we've got one of these. This is a big one.
There's some great work being done.
No, that's the wrong button. Come on.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
Maybe give you a little clue as to who it was that scored, though. It's Aberdeen. They've taken the lead at home to St Johnstone. Duke, nice turn and finish. A free kick from Clarkson, Leighton Clarkson, and Duke with the finish. That is what the Aberdeen fans needed today.
Yeah, it doesn't take the heat off. That will be the case at full time. If you've won the match, the heat will come off a little bit, but it calms everything down, because the crowd at the end of the game against Ross County were hostile, and you have to just keep them on your side, and that goal does that.
Yeah, I think a goal in the first 20-25 minutes settles the crowd down, settles the players down as well. Of course the coaching team, because Jim will be under no illusions, the pressure that he would be under if they didn't get a result.
VAR review with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
Just checking the Aberdeen goal, so maybe premature. Bernabe seems to keep giving it away for Celtic. Gabriel, who's at the game, is describing it as very flat so far. 21 minutes. We're about a midway through the first half, so quite a flat start at Celtic Park, and it's offside. Duke's goal does not count.
So as
and
I was
there we
saying,
are.
Jim will know the pressure he's under now.
Offside, black and white. Glad VAR's there, or that goal would have stood incorrectly.
Well,
Yeah? No?
Yeah.
Everyone on board?
100%.
This is the way Jim Goodwin's luck is running at the moment.
What's luck about that? He's
It's the
offside.
correct decision.
Yeah, but he thought in his own mind, good, a goal, and now
That's
see
it,
what thought did.
That's the only thing I would have hated now to be involved in VAR.
The celebration.
The celebrations. Yeah, you get carried away, you love it, you're celebrating, you're away there celebrating with the crowd, and all of a sudden,
What was your celebration? The cup
remember,
final again.
No, remember the one.
That's how you
I've
do
had
it.
some great
It's not
celebrations.
the cup final. Someone sent me
Aberdeen
one.
one?
Remember, it's horrendous. He sort of runs over and he goes like down on one knee.
I was
And funnily enough, would you believe? But not in that regard.
And a wife popped out. She popped out the crowd.
You've never seen that one?
No, I'm committed to you.
I'll try and find it. He goes down on one knee and he sort of points forward with the right hand.
It's so old school.
It says like it's a sort of that's what I'm all about. It's awful.
That was he saying. He said that in the cup final.
That was his
when
cup
he kidded on, he was heading the ball and said, "That's what I'm all
See
about."
when I got to about 180 goal, I was getting bored. I'm thinking, what can I do now? I've still more to do. I was against Aberdeen because that's
Hugh, a history of Scottish football in 100 objects, says Nap is short for Napoleon after a French card game where players shout Napoleon when they think they've won. There we go.
So what's that in
Right,
reference
we're just
to
educating everyone.
Your result, your nap?
I don't know, but people do that.
Do you say, like, is that your guarantee? Is that what you're saying? Like the one
that's my nap. Yeah.
I've never heard
Or
that.
my Napoleon, whatever way you want to put it. That could be my Napoleon.
Maybe, do you know what? It's all starting to come back to me now. I think you've overdone it with the going down on one knee.
Yeah.
In your private life and in your professional life with your celebration. Maybe that's why you're going in for knee surgery on Tuesday, because you just wear and tear.
Yeah,
as the saying goes.
And it was always down the left hand side as well. I think that was the problem.
Are we any closer to establishing whether Mark Wilson and myself can do the show from your hospital bed on Tuesday?
I'm not even going down that road with him. I'm disgusted with his behaviour first and foremost. I looked after him at Airdrie, got him a good job.
What's this got to do with
Laid him
anything?
right in. All I want's a lift. He won't even give me a lift to the hospital. He won't even pick me up.
He won't give me a lift at 6:45 in the morning on Tuesday morning. Now I've got 2 kids, I've got a school run. He's wanting me to ditch my 2 kids.
They're teenagers.
To take him to the hospital.
They can find their own way.
Are they both teenagers?
No, they're not.
Exactly.
No.
I didn't think so.
No, one's a teenager, one's not.
There you go.
You honestly want him to drive from his house, which is nowhere near yours, all the way to Motherwell, pick you up, take you to a Glasgow hospital. I won't reveal which one.
Yeah.
You think he's going to do? Why would he do that?
Because I would do it for him.
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah,
You
I
wouldn't.
would.
But it's the fact he overlooked the kids in the school run. He just said, what time do you head into your office on Tuesday?
Homeschooling.
But back in 9:30. Could you give me a lift?
Do you know something? I guarantee you, right? I'll guarantee you right now, if I had the assat lad sitting up in Dingwall, he would come and get me.
Fraser?
Yes.
Fraser?
Yeah, me and Fraser spent a lot of years in here, and he always says to me, Daz, you ever need anything?
Well, we'll ask him at half time.
Yeah, see what he's got to say for himself.
All day long. I'll tell you, that's one thing about Fraser.
David Fields sent me the image. We spoke about it the other night. It's Charles Green in the hospital bed with the gown on, Jim White at the end of the bed. Only you're Charles Green and Mark and I are Jim White.
Do you know what I'm about?
And that's not rhyming slang.
Do you know what he put in my head the other night that I'm a bit concerned about? Know how they give you that gown? I'm no good at tying the back of that. I do not.
There's people out there eating their lunch, for goodness sake.
It's awkward. I know what you mean. It's
I do
awkward
not
to get
want
the
to be
old
walking
hands.
down that hall with the cheeks going from left to right.
Yeah, that's not going to be nice.
Come on. People across the nation are just going to put off for lunch.
Do you want me to,
when they put you to sleep though?
do you want me to change the subject?
I want them to agree that we can do it. I don't know if the NHS would have anything to say. I don't know if
Come in for the
be
op.
allowed.
They'll be fine.
Nah, come in for the
Talk some
operation.
nonsense when you come in for that anaesthetic.
That'd be good.
No different.
So I'll be back to my usual best on Thursday.
So you're in on Monday because you're off on Tuesday. Right, okay, I've got
recovery Wednesday. I'll probably get Mark to pick me up Thursday.
I'm not picking you up anything. I'm not a taxi driver.
Whatever happened to the taxi driver that picked you up to take you to Robbie Williams? Could he come?
Yeah,
he was great.
He was a great lad. By the way, I'll tell you what, great selection of sweets.
Did he? Was
he had the sweets in the front and everything with the crisps and juice for me.
Oh, that actually genuinely does remind me.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember when was that? About a month ago, maybe more. He made a big song and dance, and we spoke about it in the show because he wanted tickets to see Blue.
Yeah.
And remember, we exposed them because we thought it was ludicrous, and we played lots of Blue songs and we had good fun, and people kept tweeting in about it.
Yeah.
There was a development this week. We got an official complaint. Now, remember the lengths that he went to. He pestered producer Callum for the tickets. He then went above producer Callum. He went above producer Callum's head to pull more strings to get these tickets, right?
Backstage.
And it turns out the complaint we received during the week was that seat was left empty.
That seat
you did not go.
No. It was like the same situation with Mark. I ended up in the dance floor. I ended up in the space down the stairs, so I could swing the hips.
Well, that's not what the official record shows.
If you're going to do your homework, do it correctly.
What was their opening song then?
Stand up or something?
No, it wasn't.
Sit down.
All rise.
All right.
You can't do that with your song knee.
I'm not very good at
What did they finish with?
remembering.
You always remember which song a band finishes with.
Do you honestly think I remember a band finish? Because
Genuinely,
I'm usually in the car.
This has got nothing to do with my homework. I'm just telling you, someone got in touch to essentially complain that after the links you went to, that seat was left empty. You can leave it up to the public to decide whether they believe that you moved somewhere else. I don't think they'll have your back. What I'm telling you is there was a complaint received that you did not fulfil the seat that you were given.
I was there Monday night,
after
19th. The 19th Monday night. Doors open 7:15.
Do you believe him?
I was there.
I don't believe him.
100% I was there.
Because we would have heard more. Please. Blue.
Look, I know sorry seems to be the hardest word, right? But just apologise for not going. Just apologise to everybody.
I wish there was really famous
Did they
and
play
somebody
that one?
would have
They didn't
recognised
play that
me.
one, did they? That's an Elton John one.
I was up in the I went to the dance, but
you've been exposed in a bad way, Mark Wilson. I feel bad for you now as well.
Why?
Fran has called in. Connor has mentioned it. So's Mr. RFK. The schools are on strike on Tuesday, so there's no school run. You'll need to take the Dazzler to the hospital.
So they are. Well done, guys.
Come on and help me with my gown.
Well done.
This is why you don't drive. You don't get roped into this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
easy.
That's made my
By the
day.
way, the
No
listeners are on the ball, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Ayr United 1, Hamilton Accies 0. Josh Mullen on 32 minutes, and at a similar time in the game, really not much of a sniff of goalmouth action for Celtic, Mark.
Not really, no. Plenty of possession.
Was there a Jota shot that was
kind of deflected
easy
through,
save?
easy, but by this stage at Celtic Park, they've usually created a couple of chances, but no, nothing
They have only one hope now, and that is on 85 minutes. I say they have made a monumental mess of this. And then
they ram it down your throat.
Yeah.
That tends to be.
That's the only hope they have. I told you, 15 minutes is plenty of time to make up your mind. They're rubbish, and it's time to get a few changes made. Get Abada on. He's the late goal scorer.
Do you know, let's give a little credit to Kilmarnock. I think
done really well, haven't they?
Yeah, well organised. Not giving Celtic the space. Derek's obviously been doing a lot of homework, working very hard in the training ground. But I keep going back to it. I don't think the manager of Celtic will be standing there thinking, oh, this could be a bad day for us. I think they've still got plenty in the tank.
Surely, Fraser, it's a long way to go, Dingwall, if he's not going to get any goals. We need to get that man some goals, surely, up there.
Oh, he's a master at that. He'll get goals. I think that will come to life. I think once the first one goes in.
Well, right on cue. Andrew Shinney's had a goal ruled out for offside by the assistant ref.
VAR review with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
Just having a look, double checking. And if this is the second goal of the afternoon already that you need VAR to confirm, then you would just have to say VAR's been a resounding success here, because otherwise these things would be.
Shinney's scored, but it's been ruled out, and they're checking
to see if it should have stood.
I like these ones. I hope it does stand. I like these ones when it's proved that the goal should have stood rather than chopping it off.
Celtic overhitting some crosses at Celtic Park. Falkirk 1, Montrose 0. Aidan Nesbitt on 32 minutes. He's Fife have doubled their lead. Alan Troughton with a penalty. So
it's quite simple. You bring on Giacomakis, Abada and O'Reilly.
I'm not being funny. In the nicest way possible, it is too early for this. I'm going to just turn the mic off. It's too early.
One thing I would say
even
about
for the joke,
Celtic, they are more effective, in my opinion, when Jota plays off the left and Maeda maybe plays off the right. I think someone else plays off the right, because I think Jota, you lose a lot from him coming in the park shooting, and we're not seeing a lot from him this afternoon so far.
So still waiting. I wonder how Marvin Bartley, or the big guy next to me, as Gordon Dale calls him, because he can't remember his name.
I've got a real problem with the big guy.
And offside has been confirmed, so the goal doesn't stand. And see, this is good now though, because if Fraser's not going to get a goal, he can at least come close to getting one. Do you know what I mean? He's like half a goal, just to excite things and cheer him up a bit.
I think I'll be very confident in Fraser getting a goal today. I think he's worth the trip all the way up there, and I really hope that he gets some entertaining football.
Fraser usually doubles that up with a holiday up there, does he not?
Probably.
I think he's got a caravan. I think he's got a caravan in Dingwall.
A truly alarming thought for the Celtic fans. Maybe Ange Postecoglou's taking Mark Wilson's advice. Jota has now gone to the left hand side.
know my stuff, don't I? I know my stuff. I'm sure all the Celtic fans out there agree with me every week.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the things I say.
I'm sure. But maybe just, clearly a look to try and get him cutting in on that right foot like he's done.
Look, Jota is a tremendous player, and he has had some success sometimes in the right, but I think he's half the player than he is when you see him on the left. You know, he can go either way, but when he comes in that right foot, look, you only have to look at Ibrox last week. He comes in that right foot past Tavernier, everybody thinks he's going to cross it. That little reverse pass opens up the defence. How many times have we seen it?
Fraser's reminded us that he was at Kelly St Mirren on Monday that was 0-0, and he says this is not any better. Now, I don't waste my time, Hugh, like you guys. Don't try and predict outcomes of games, but there are certain storylines that I like to think I can predict because I've been here too often. Robbie Nielsen's been booked. I told you that wouldn't be a quiet technical area. You've got him, you've got Stephen Robinson destined to be lively, and Robbie Nielsen has been booked already.
Well, Robbie will always find something to moan about. That's his entitlement, but sometimes he crosses the line. When the referee was examining the penalty kick moment when Craig Gordon was sadly injured, he got booked for haranguing the referee at the monitor. So he needs to calm down a little bit. But this is not going the way that they thought it would. I thought Hearts on the rebound from a 3-0 win over Hibs would be the dominant side in Paisley, and it's not working out that way, and I suspect that's why Robbie's in the book.
Not a good start for Paul Hartley, is it?
What's the score?
3-0 now, and we've only played 35 minutes up there.
Yeah, Simon Murray again.
Queen's Park showing their strength in that division now.
I noticed on that Hearts game the absence of Andy Halliday. I think a head knock is the official reason. I wonder if now though could that be some a hair issue after the planting of the.
He couldn't head it for a while, could he?
So it could just be a few hairs out of place. Or
is that what happens when you get a turkey? You can't head it for a while.
When you get a what?
Turkey.
A turkey.
Yeah. Well, that's where you go into it. You want to come back with big.
Why is Turkey the place to go for hair and teeth?
Hair and teeth is
in the capital.
I cannot wait till you pick me up at the airport. I'm walking off my golf clubs with the teeth hanging right out of the mouth and a wig.
Well, it'll be the first time we've ever seen your teeth. We don't see those, do we?
So anyway, he's not playing today. That's the bottom line. What else have we got there coming in now? Still that 3-0 to Queen's Park. Snodgrass has had a free kick in. Rowles has headed wide for Hearts, so trying to get themselves back on level terms. And I think the general consensus would be that Celtic need to up it, Mark. I looked at the replies on Twitter. Not that it's not a great barometer, because people they shout awful loud without really thinking a lot on Twitter, but let's just say it's not been too complimentary on the Celtic Twitter feed.
No, I can understand why. You get some games that are 0-0 and the team has parked the bus and it's difficult, but you've created chances. The goalkeeper's had a magnificent day. It's been far from that today. It's been open enough for Celtic to play, but the quality when they get in the final third, I mean, I think I've counted maybe 3 crosses from the left hand side alone. One for Jota, one for Maeda, one for Bernabé that's went out the pitch.
Has the Celtic team though not earned a bit more patience? Because you would understand if you think, oh, this goal might not come, and it might not, but on the basis of what we see, it always comes. So
a bit of patience, of course, but I think the supporters are still entitled to say this hasn't been a good watch so far. A bit sloppy at times. Going back to Ibrox last week, by the way, Celtic were sloppy in possession as well. Pretty similar, I've got to say.
Yeah, but Celtic at Ibrox on Monday were in the first half turbocharged. This game is a bore.
It's flat. At Bonnyrigg Rose 0, Albion Rovers 3. Luke Graham just before the break probably killing that one off, albeit you never know, maybe a miraculous comeback. Remind us of the teaser, Hugh. We'll make it maybe do a couple of minute warning and we'll round it off if you do it now for us.
Name the last 7 players who've scored at least a brace in an Old Firm game. The last 7, remember. So Henrik Larsson was an earlier try, but Henrik was a while ago.
People
now.
People are getting pretty close, if not getting them all. Scott and Gordy 11 would like to throw in Gary Hooper.
Terrific player for Celtic, but not on this list.
ZT wants to go for Alfredo Morelos.
Again, poor against Celtic in terms of goal scoring. I think he's got 2 in his entire career against Celtic.
Not in the one game. And Ryan would like to throw in Lee Griffiths.
And again, you might think, but no.
Okay, round that off in a couple of minutes. If that helps you at all, you've heard a few more wrong answers identified, so get your thinking caps on and send them over at Clyde SSB. What are you two talking about?
Dad's just got an obvious one that we've overlooked.
Let me see your list, you two.
The one at the bottom,
decide.
Dad's got. But I think we're far off with the rest.
1, 2, 3. At least 3 of them are wrong.
Oh, right.
4 of them are wrong.
4 of them are wrong. So
miles off it.
I would say they're wrong.
Think so. Okay.
Yeah. Not great from you two, I must say. I was expecting better.
Yeah, it's harder than it seems, that question, when you start thinking about it. Oh yeah, Daz has got another.
Yeah, great. You two writing things down on your bit of paper, it doesn't really work on radio.
It makes us happy though.
No, we're working as a team.
Yeah, dovetailing nicely.
Jota back doing a bit of defending. A couple of moments ago, I think Kilmarnock were claiming for a handball. I think it clearly just struck him on either on the body or the hand. Was so much by his side that it doesn't cause much more of an analysis to be required. And on we go.
I think we chatted about it. Derek McInnes will obviously be pleased that his team's kept a clean sheet. You just wonder how he feels about an attacking sense as well, because never really offered much going forward. They've been in the Celtic box a couple of times, of course, but if you just solely rely and getting to a certain stage and allowing possession to come your way, you'll concede.
Kyogo scores for Celtic, but the flag goes up for offside. Now they will check it, because they always do. That's the way it works, unless they've got the timing slightly off and it was up majorly before it, but I wouldn't have thought so. So they'll have a look. Jota was the one offside. It's been officially confirmed offside. No dramas, I don't think. Well, and on we go.
Of course there'll be a drama because it was declared offside, but we haven't seen it, so we can't comment on whether it was or was not.
I think you need a level of faith that it was just offside, because whether we see it again and disagree, then the people who design Hawkeye would perhaps say, well, we're a bit more reliable than you three.
The only thing that Ange Postecoglou might like is that it puts a spark in his team, but they're almost at half time now, so the spark will need to be witnessed in the second half.
Yeah, no more goals to tell you about at the moment. Bacchus has been booked for diving in the box for St Mirren, went down in instalments. I don't think any great complaints. Of course, we had him on the show not that long ago, didn't we, talking about locking horns with Lionel Messi. It was great to hear from him. 3 minutes added on at Fraser's game, where it is goalless, remember, but it's goalless in a couple. The Celtic game being one of them.
Bacchus might be one of the ones that might find himself with a move to a bigger club. No disrespect to St Mirren, but when you play that way in the World Cup, then you always heighten your chances of getting a move.
Really nice goal that was as well for Celtic. It was a ball over the top to Jota. He's the one that's offside. He volleys it across the face of goal first time, and then it's a very, oh my goodness,
he's a mile.
Yeah, let's spare ourselves.
I think someone will take a freeze frame of that, move the Kilmarnock defenders back and say, oh come on.
No, he's a good few yards off based on what we saw. But that's becoming a real trademark Kyogo finish, that mark, isn't it? Very similar to the Livingston one. And then what was the game round about that, either before or after, where it was from the other side? Was it St Johnstone? Did he score one in that game?
Well, it's obviously something that Celtic work on.
I think 2 in that game.
Ange Postecoglou actually came out and said that, didn't he? That they work on getting to the byline and the cutbacks and getting bodies in the box, and he obviously works on that every day in training.
Right, Hugh, let's round this off then if we can.
Sure. The first half teaser
with the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
Name the last 7 players who scored at least a brace in an Old Firm game. They are Leila Bada, Rio Hatate, Kemar Roof, Connor Goldson, Odson Edward, Moussa Dembele and Stephen Naismith.
Good effort if you got them, well done. There was a great response to that question. The podium looks like this though. Ewan Grant was in 3rd place. Well done to you, Ewan. That was a great effort. Taylor Muir just a little bit quicker. But the winner of the first half teaser straight out the blocks was Derek FM. Well done to you, Derek. You are the winner, and we'll do a Who Am I a bit later on in the show. Arbroath 1, Inverness 2. Jay Henderson just gone up there on loan from St Mirren. Great time for him to score just before the interval. How did you fare, you two, on that teaser?
5.
Which ones did you not get?
Abada.
Hopeless.
How can we not get Abada?
Any others?
Well,
there must have been one other.
There must have been one other. Edward. Didn't get Edward either.
Okay.
Unbelievably. Well,
there you are. Learn your lesson. On we go. We'll do a Who Am I a bit later on in the show once the second halves get underway. If there's to be any drama now, it will be of the late variety, because we're either in injury time or getting towards that. I think we were a bit later at St Mirren. There's now just 2 minutes been added at Pittodrie. Celtic Park will be something similar, so we'll keep an eye on when that half-time whistle goes. No real drama to tell you about. It is half-time in Dingwall with Fraser.
It is not much to talk about. Gordon, Ross County 0, Livingston 0. Nothing between the teams so far. Plenty of endeavour, but really little quality on the ball. Neither keepers this season.
Let me just quickly stop you, Fraser, if you don't mind. I'll come straight back. Got one of these
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
Jota slides the ball in. No offside suggestion yet for this one. Ball pulled across by Maeda, and Jota, rather than being the provider, he is the finisher. Slides in similar to Kyogo's goal on the other side, and Celtic lead Kilmarnock by a goal 2-0. My apologies, Fraser, as you were.
No problem. Always happy to report on goals, Gordon, because there's nothing happening up here. As I said, Andrew Shinnie did have the ball in the net, but it was disallowed for offside. But other than that, very little to talk about. Really frantic pace to begin with, both sides battling for the ball, but it was mostly in the air and nothing between the two teams until the first chance in 11 minutes on Owura Edwards cut in from the left hand side. Decent shot, low, about a yard wide from 20 yards. Keeper Shamal George just stood and watched, so if on target would have gone in, and he watched the relief as it went about a yard wide. And plenty of effort from both teams, but chances really at a premium. Long throws hurled into the box, corners hurled into the box, both defending well. John White tried his luck from 25 yards, dipping shot, beat Shamal George, but it was a couple of yards over the bar. And 30 minutes gone, the closest Livy came to scoring in that early period. Bruce Anderson burst into the box, did really well to get himself a yard, got his shot away, but brilliant block by Iakoviti denied the striker. And then Livy did hit the ball in the back of the net 4 minutes later. Anderson has been really good up front on his own for Livy, did brilliantly to turn in the middle of the park, slipped a lovely ball to Andrew Shinnie on the left hand side inside the box. Lovely low finish by the midfield player past the goalkeeper, but the flag was up, and after 2 minutes VAR confirmed that there was indeed an offside. Conor Randall whipped in a couple of crosses for Ross County, really good efforts, but both cleared well by Fitzwater the other, and Stefan Amoyonga had a shot deflected wide. The fact I'm talking about these things just shows what a poor game it was. Not really a great 45 minutes to watch. More composure on the ball needed, both hitting the ball long but getting no change for defences. It could just be that one goal will settle this match. Half time in Dingwall, Ross County 0, Livingston 0.
So that Celtic goal we told you about did stand. There was no late drama as you sometimes get in this day and age. It is Jota that takes the acclaim. He gets the final touch from a distance. I think it looked like him and Kyogo were both in there, but the celebration tells you everything you need to know. It's a great pass through Mark Wilson initially.
Yeah, brilliant. Was it maybe Bernabé that plays a pass through to Maeda? How many times have we seen that? Often on the right hand side with Ralston and Abada. Inside the fullback, Maeda does well to cut that back, and Jota just nicks in ahead of Kyogo. Great goal.
Half time Pittodrie, Dave Galloway.
Half time Aberdeen 0, St Johnstone 0. Aberdeen started on the front foot and they celebrated a Duke goal when he netted with a lovely turn and shot from Clarkson's free kick, only for a VAR review to rule it all out for offside. Saints threatened little at the other end, but May's header from right's cross flashed just wide. The Dons, with Shinnie impressive in midfield, had almost 2/3 of the possession, but the well-organised visitors were standing firm. But Majowski really should have scored when he got in behind. He pounced on a little bit of a defensive lapse by the visitors, but his attempted chip over Matthews, it lacked power, and the keeper managed to get back and stop the ball from crossing the line. And then as half-time beckoned, the Don striker again powered through, but once again Matthews saved as another chance went a-begging. It's goalless. Aberdeen 0, St Johnstone 0.
I don't think we've got to half-time yet, do we, from David Friel? No, he was a few minutes behind, but it can't be too far away. In fact, I suspect it is imminent. No, still going there. Half-time Celtic Park, Gabriel.
Yeah, half-time here, Gordon. It's 1-0 to Celtic. Jota's goal just before the interval, giving the Hoops the lead after what must be said, a very flat first half. It was a brilliant, typical Celtic goal. Alexandra Bernabei slid the ball to Dayson Maida, who was in between the fullback and the centre-half. Maida cut the ball across, and there was both Jota and Kyogo in the middle of the goal. Jota nicked in front of Kyogo to tap in and give the Hoops the advantage. On paper, it's all going to plan, but it must be said, Celtic have been extremely slack with a lot of their passing. You have to give a lot of credit to Kilmarnock, who've had really good shape, not sitting too deep. They will be so disappointed to concede just before the interval. Elsewhere in the first half, in the first minute, there was a check for a possible handball in the Celtic box. Now, if that had been given, Postecoglou's face would have been a picture after the week we've had. Not many chances at all in the first half. The first opening for the Hoops came after 25 minutes. Jota cut in onto his left foot. His shot was deflected, flew easily into the Killie keeper's hands. Ash Taylor had a free header, but he looped over the bar just after that. And Kyogo Furuhashi had the ball in the net after a nice Jota cross, almost a mirror image of the goal that did stand, but the linesman had his flag up very early and VAR confirmed it was clearly offside. It must be said, Alexandra Bernabei, great pass to that goal, but he has been so loose with possession, lost the ball more than 5 times. Every cross as well from Celtic, other than the goal, has been overhit. Kyogo has hardly had a touch, but the all-important thing is that they do have that goal. Again, credit to Killie, they have been really well organised. McInnes really animated on the sideline for his well-drilled side. He'll be so disappointed with that late goal. I would still expect a few stern words from Ange Postecoglou in the changing room at half-time. Big second half coming up, but at the interval, it's Celtic 1, Kilmarnock 0.
Finally then, David Friel's half-time whistle has gone in Paisley. David?
Half-time, St Mirren 1, Hearts 0. Ryan Strain only played 17 minutes of this game before limping off injured, but St Mirren full-back still made his presence felt with the only goal of the game so far. After just 4 minutes, St Mirren have been excellent. Their first ever, they aren't giving Hearts a second, pressing all over the pitch. It was a rousing minutes applause for Frank McGarvey. The home side came out flying after that. It was an Australian-themed goal from Strain. Keanu Bacchus, one Socceroo, was fouled by Cammy Devlin, another one, and Strain, who's also Australian, took the free kick 25 yards out. It seemed to take a slight deflection past Sander Clark, but it was a great hit. The goalkeeper had no chance. Strain went off injured with a strain after 17 minutes. Ryan Flynn came on, but St Mirren haven't missed a beat. Alec Grieve has been everywhere. He's not given Hearts a second, but he just can't score. He almost connected with Curtis Main's cross. He got in the way of a Ryan Flynn shot as it looked to be heading in, and then just seconds before the interval he volleyed over at the back post. He really should have scored. As for Hearts, have been really, really flat. Robbie Nielsen, not a happy man. He's been booked already. He's having a moan at the officials and the team. He had a couple of half chances, Lawrence Shanklin, Kai Rolls, but they've been nowhere near good enough. It really should be 2-0 at least to St Mirren. Half time, St Mirren 1, Hearts 0.
And we will be back with a full roundup of the half-time scores next.
The fastest goals, the expert opinions. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Half-time in the Scottish Premiership: Aberdeen 0, St Johnstone 0, Celtic 1, Kilmarnock 0, Ross County 0, Livingston 0, and St Mirren 1, Hearts 0. In the Championship, it's Arbroath 1, Inverness 2, Ayr United 1, Hamilton Accies 0, Partick Thistle 0, Morton 0, and Cove Rangers 0, Queen's Park 3. In Scottish League 1 then, Clyde 0, Kelty Hearts 1, FC Edinburgh 0, Dunfermline Athletic 1, Falkirk 1, Montrose 0, Peterhead 0, Airdrie 0, and Queen of the South 1, Alloa 0. In League 2, Annan 0, Forfar 2, Bonnyrigg Rose 0, Albion Rovers 3, Dumbarton Stirling Albion was postponed, Elgin 0, East Fife 2, and Stenhousemuir 2, Stranraer 1. I'd usually give you a quick look at the English Premier League. It's FA Cup weekend there, of course. We'll pick out some of the bigger names quickly for you without running through them all. Crystal Palace 1, Southampton 2, a full-time result there. Spurs 1, Portsmouth 0, also a full-time result in that one. And I think that'll probably do us. They're all kind of... Oh, sorry, how are the Seagulls getting on? My apologies.
They're at Middlesbrough.
And they are winning 2-1 at the break. There you are. You're fine. Okay, right. We'll be back with the second half next.
The Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast with Lookers Jaguar. The big event is on now with exclusive discounts on approved used Jaguars. The Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast with Lookers Jaguar. The big event is on now with exclusive discounts on approved used Jaguars. Scottish football's league leader. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Half time in the 3 o'clock games round about the country. Mark Wilson, the Celtic goal just before half time, it certainly changes things. But Ange Postecoglou, since he arrived here, has always been telling us that it's not all about winning the game or focusing on the result. If it's performance based, he'll have a few improvements on his mind, won't he?
I think so. I think it's been sloppy at times from Celtic. I think they've not looked like themselves at times, especially in the final third, where they're usually so good and can cut teams open. It's not been like that this afternoon. But the important thing is that they never seem to panic, even when it's going in to the 44th, 45th minute, they still play the same way. And how many times have we seen that pass from a full-back, one Celtic full-back, inside the opposition full-back to the winger, and Maeda? Let's not underestimate how hard a ball that is for Maeda to play across the front. Other winger coming in, tucks it away, and he'll feel a lot easier about it. But you're right, Ange Postecoglou's standards are that high that he'll be expecting a whole lot better in the second half.
In the passing, Alessandro Bernabei didn't get on at Ibrox and perhaps felt hard done by,
and was having a tough start to the game.
Correct. And from the very outset, the very first kick of the ball he passed it to a Kilmarnock player. But the pass is sensational.
Yeah, I think that Postecoglou will be happy. Look, he's come up against a disciplined Kilmarnock side who obviously went there with a game plan, and it's worked very well. And they're frustrated Celtic at times. You ain't going to just because you know the quality that Celtic have got, and they have got a quality and abundance. You ain't just going to turn up at Celtic Park and say, right, sit back, entertain us, score 3, 4, 5 goals. They may do that in the second half. It's all about winning games, and there's different ways to win games. Have Celtic been at their brilliant best? No, but as I say, credit to Kilmarnock, they've made it very difficult, but they've found a way again before half time. And as a manager, you're getting in that dressing room, you're thinking, yeah, okay, we've found that way, let's go and put this game to bed. And I expect Celtic to do that.
Tomoki Iwata took to the pitch at half time to be introduced to the Celtic fans. He took the mic. I don't know if that means he shared a few words in English. Gabriel, you were probably away getting your pie and missed all this.
Yeah, you're right, Gordon. I was watching it on the television
thanks
inside.
for your contribution.
I was watching it on the television inside. He said a few words on the microphone. Not exactly sure what they were because the sound wasn't on, but he was on the pitch and he was getting rapturous applause.
So it could be Japanese as far as you're concerned.
It could be, yeah, it could be. I'll ask around.
See, that is schoolboy. Do you know something? I'd have made anything up there.
I know.
Yeah. I'd have come out there.
He was singing. He gave us a song.
You'll never walk alone. Perfect. Never missed a beat. Hugh, it doesn't matter much. Ange Postecoglou did say that he was one that had been learning English. I think, from my limited knowledge, Kyogo, Hatate, etc., they rely heavily on translation, and I'm sure Iwata will also. But he had been learning English. I wonder if he said something to the Celtic fans. And
yeah, he's got the microphone. That you don't expect perfect English. You don't expect perhaps a properly constructed sentence, but he made the effort. How many of us could wander over to Tokyo and deliver a speech to the crowd in Japanese? So he looks a confident guy, and he's had the presence to take the microphone and speak to the Celtic fans. Now, the big picture. What's he like in a jersey?
Any hint of any changes at the break, Gabriel?
No, nothing yet, Gordon. The Kilmarnock team have just emerged from the tunnel. Ange Postecoglou keeping his Celtic players in at the moment. I was going to say, when it was 0-0 heading towards the break, I would have been pretty certain that a few changes would have been coming from Postecoglou. But with that goal, perhaps it changes things. Here comes Celtic now. Let me see if I can spot any changes. Captain Callum McGregor leading them out. Looks the same at the moment. Dalziel made the last play. No, it looks like it is the same 4-3-3. Hart in goal, a back four of Starfelt, Carter Vickers, Bernabei, who keeps his place, and Alistair Johnson in midfield. McGregor, Moy and Hatate. Maeda is starting on the left with Kyogo through the middle and Jota off the right. No changes at the break.
And now just a quick note from our podcast sponsor Lookers, the new name for Taggarts across Glasgow and the West. We are proud to announce that Lookers is now the new name for Taggarts. Taggarts has been part of the Lookers Motor Group for nearly 20 years, and over time, being part of one of the largest multi-franchise dealer groups in the UK and Ireland, has helped Taggarts to provide a great customer experience, value and choice to their customers across Scotland, and that's something that will never change. And now, they've decided though to change the name above the door to move forward as one. You'll find the same great service and friendly faces you've come to know at their Jaguar, Land Rover and Volvo showrooms, working hard hard to give the best experience every time. You can now browse and shop online for your next car at lookers.co.uk and choose from thousands of used cars in stock with home delivery available. You can also discover the latest new car offers, book a test drive and book your next service online. Although the name has changed above the door, everything else is staying exactly the same, and you can still expect the same great service and friendly faces when you visit in store. Lookers, the new name for taggarts across Glasgow and the West.
Clyde One Super Scoreboard Goal Flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements. Trade accounts available now. Call them today.
If I flick quickly through my football cliche book, Gordon Dalziel, did Derek McInnes' half-time team talk change drastically? Because we said before, Ange Postecoglou's probably doesn't. It's just not the way he... But when you're Kilmarnock and you think, we're nearly there, let's get in until half-time.
No, I don't think it would, because I think Derek, analysing the first 45 plus minutes, apart from the goal, would have been delighted with his players. He's been undone by a terrific ball, and I think the boys picked up the cross in for Jota and over Chicago, both attacking that space, and Jota getting on the end. It was terrific. So sometimes you just got to hold your hands up and say, look, we've got undone with a terrific bit of football, and that's what's happened. But no, I think he'll stick to his game plan. I think he must have been very happy right up until that point, the way the game was planning out. And it'll be interesting to see how Celtic approach the second half.
Because managers always feel they can do more, Mark, will he not have been a little bit disappointed with the defending? I know Celtic do that to teams and you can't guarantee you stop it, but the cross from Maeda is from quite wide. It's on the ground the full way. It's not smashed across the face, and it seems to evade quite a number of Kelly players.
Yeah, well, I think a number of things right at the start. Yes, it's a great pass for Bernabeu, but if I'm a right wing back there, and I've seen Celtic probably in the video yesterday with Derek McInnes probably showing their goals, how many times did they play it inside? So from there on in, that's a mistake right away. But the cross, you have got to follow your man when it gets in the box. So Celtic, how many times have we seen it? Jota, Abada, Kyogo, whoever it is, running off people, running across the face and tapping things in the 6-yard line. Surely the Kilmarnock defender at the back post has to follow Jota to make some attempt at a tackle. He doesn't, and Jota puts it away.
Falkirk 2, Montrose 0. Great start to the second half there. Aidan Nisbet with his second of the afternoon. Just to give us maximum time for answers and to get any goals in the second half, Hugh, let's do this.
The second half teaser
with the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
I have played alongside Scott Booth and Mark Overmars. I've been managed by Hans Meyer and Goose Hiddink. I won domestic cups in multiple countries, including Scotland. I never scored for my own country in any of my 6 appearances. Who am I? Played alongside Scott Booth and Mark Overmars. Been managed by Hans Meyer and Goose Hiddink. Won domestic cups in several countries, including Scotland, but never scored for my country in any of my 6 appearances. Who am I?
At Clyde SSB, and the race starts now. Go, get your thinking caps on. One name, that's all we're looking for. Just throw a guess in. You don't need to be absolutely certain at this stage. You're just trying to piece that all together. Throw a guess in, and we'll try and read out as many of the attempts as we can. Send them over to at Clyde SSB. There's a big goal in the Championship, a big one local for us as well. Partick Thistle 1, Morton 0. It's a Stephen Lawless penalty on 51 minutes. That's a huge goal.
Yeah, I was actually talking to Mark at half time about that. I thought it was very quiet, 0-0. I thought there'll be a decent crowd there. 2 teams sitting, I think, on the same amount of points. So it's a big game. Ian McCall looking for a reaction from his players. So that certainly was given in the second half. 1-0. I still think there'll be more goals.
You've got to say, Morton, we're going great at one stage of the season, sitting top of the league, weren't they? Mm-hmm. Just started to go backwards a wee bit. That'd be a huge one for Thistle. Thistle are up and down. They were the exact same last year as well, where they get these great opportunities to sit right in amongst the teams at the top of the league, and they always seem to forfeit it. But this is a game that they must win just to keep in touch with Ayr, who are winning 1-0 against Hallam.
You've actually had some more poetry about your hospital
Oh,
visit.
no.
I mean, you had it the other night as well. Imagine being a doctor when the Dazzler comes to stay and seeing his wee gown opening, which he's put on the wrong way. The doc eyes up the patient, sees the shriveled up old skin, says there's nothing we can do here, get that gown straight in the bin.
Is that the creature?
Curious Creatures is sent in. Excellent. as
Charity
always.
is alive and well in 2023.
Right, let's hear.
It's actually been, speaking of your old friend Curious Creatures, it's been a great week for you, being reconnected with friends from your past.
Come on.
We had Thursday night's Beat the Pundit. Hugh, did you hear it?
Yes, I did.
Gordon DL lost on
Chaos.
Beat the Pundit to someone known as Chaos the Panda. Now it turns out this guy was the panda. He dressed up as the panda mascot when Gordon was the Ayr United manager. So they knew each other, they went way back.
I used to drive him to the games.
And he beat you 1-0 on Beat
Right,
the Pundit.
okay.
Hold on,
I'll let him
you've
beat
been
me.
saved. Don't think I'm forgetting about this, but you've been saved by one of these.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
St Mirren 1, Hearts 1. A man whose form is so good that Hugh Keevins has got him coming out of international retirement is Robert Snodgrass with the equaliser for Hearts. Not really at it in the first half. Good way to start the second though.
Snoddy, told you. Scott Brown came back. He was put into the Scotland team after retiring. Snoddy is getting a new lease of life up here. Always benefited from being taught at school by my daughter.
He's been a good signing for Hearts. Oh, I did think that as soon as he came. I thought he's got too much quality not to succeed. Obviously getting on in years, but see, when you've got that speed of thought like him and the quality, he was always going to be a good signing.
It's not more midfielders Scotland needs, that's for sure.
No,
he could do well. So, interestingly, he's in the goalkeeping development, if there is such a thing, this week. So everyone knows Craig Gordon was he's there on his own as an established number one now after David Marshall and Alan McGregor had hung up the gloves in recent seasons. And then he got the season-ending injury, and he's 40, and how does he come back? And Xander Clark's been in the odd squad, but he's never played, and there's Liam Kelly, and John McLaughlin doesn't really get a look in at Rangers. Did you see the Angus Gunn pursuit? Seems to have picked up a bit of pace again. Now he's obviously the son of
Ryan Gunn,
so therefore, well eligible to play for Scotland. It looks like he's been asked the question before. They've tried before. It's never come to fruition, and some people say, hold on a minute, you can't just wait until you realise you're not getting a game for England and then you come and play for us. But we're going to get back to him as well. That was a great point I was about to make. It was just taking me 5 minutes to get there.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
And it's your Scottish Premiership Player of the Month, scoring again. Kyogo red hot in front of goal. We almost predicted the nature of this earlier. It's a typical Kyogo goal. It was tapped across the face of the goalkeeper. He goes sliding in. I think it did hit a defender as well, and he has scored. We were looking at the first one and thinking he might have got the final touch on that, but Jota claimed it. Kyogo's claiming this one.
Do you know something? I listened to Mark putting his defensive head on, saying about the Kilmarnock defenders, right? I give all the credit in the world. Kyogo is absolutely brilliant at that. His timing is so good. Now people say, well, why can't you just not go with them, pick up the runner? As a defender, Mark will tell you, as a player, at one point you'll need to look at the ball, and as he looks at the ball, Kyogo makes his run. He's brilliant at it. His timing's great, and he gets his reward. As I said to you earlier, there's no panic whatsoever for Celtic. They were up against a very well disciplined Kilmarnock, and it's a great finish. It's a great that is a striker's dream. Any young player, any young boy watching that is what you go for.
It's a great analysis from your learned friend. It really, and I'm being serious, because the movement, Mark, because see, actually this time Ash Taylor is with him. Ash Taylor sees him, but Kyogo thinks quicker and moves quicker, and Ash Taylor can't get there.
That's pretty much it. When it comes to that penalty box, Kyogo is alert, and he's right across the face of him. All he needs is a yard, but you've got to say, what a terrific goal from one penalty box to the next. Celtic play through the lines, get Moy on it. Hatate's desire to get forward, doesn't need to take a touch. Ages puts it in first time right across the face, and there's Kyogo.
Gordon, can I pick this up here? And if you watch this goal, Kyogo gives Ash Taylor a problem by going sort of behind him. So Taylor's got to watch him, and he's got to watch the ball. The minute that happens, Kyogo's got him exactly where he wants. He makes a run across him, absolutely kills him. What a finish, what a striker's goal. That is absolutely brilliant.
Mark, it also feeds into another debate, and Hugh, you get your thoughts on this as well, about parking the bus and sitting back. That goal, Kilmarnock are going for it. Kilmarnock are up the pitch, they're pressing men forward, and then as quick as a flash you see why teams don't go for it and don't press forward, because they were picked off.
I think both the Celtic goals highlight one fact, that Celtic players come from a higher plane. That's why they're at Celtic. And the speed of thought and Bernaby's pass. Could you see a Kilmarnock player making a pass like that? Could you see a Kilmarnock forward doing what Kyogo did at the second goal to Ash Taylor? I just think it's the difference in quality between the two teams.
Yeah, that's. I mean, Celtic have got possession of the ball for that second goal. There, have got possession of the ball at the right hand side of their own box. Kilmarnock rightly pressed. Loads of fans say, well, don't park the bus, you've got to get in teams' faces at Celtic Park and Ibrox because you've got a better chance of getting. So it just goes to show you, these guys are that good that they wait for those opportunities.
I think
3 passes and it's in the back of the net.
If you're Iwata, you're looking down and thinking, I could enjoy myself here. He's looking
Hope I can get in the team.
Yeah, he's looking at Hatate making the chance for Kyogo.
Well, Celtic almost shot themselves in the foot though.
What about that?
I think it was
Starfelt.
Carlos Starfelt almost firing beyond the Joe Hart from a simple back pass, and eventually it's hacked away. Cove Rangers 0, Queen's Park 4, a Simon Murray hat-trick.
That's 10 goals in 2 games Cove have lost in the last few days.
Well, Paul will know what to do, try and tighten up the back line. Obviously just in the building, so he needs time there, but Cove sitting down there in 8th, they've got a little bit of a gap.
A couple of moments ago, I forgot to tell you about it, Maeda ran from round about his own penalty box to the opposition's penalty box with the ball and fired over, and you've just got to feel for the Kilmarnock players who were trying to chase him, Mark. There's just not much you can do.
Well, unbelievable pace, and who is it trying to get back there?
Power at first, but he gives up quite quickly.
Cresceni then tries to get back, but Maeda so quick, just away from about 3 of them there, and just in the end he takes a shot just over the bar. But he really has had a purple patch. After the World Cup, he's come back full of confidence.
Was it the first game back? Did he get taken off at half-time?
Half-time at Pittodrie,
and then thereafter he's
been great. Easter Road obviously scores a great goal. Well, misses an absolute sitter, but then bounces back with that great goal. And then since then, he's been terrific.
I don't mind being interrupted by goals, Hugh, and the moment's probably gone. But very quickly, since we were discussing people who might get called up by Scotland and so on, what did you read into that Angus Gunn scenario at the midweek?
I'm not bothered if he waited for an England cap and the wait meant that the call never came. I'm not bothered, because that's the way of international football in the 21st century. You don't have to have been born here and know the words to Flower of Scotland. So if he accepts the call up from Stevie Clarke, good luck to him.
I'd like to be bothered, I like people who are that sure of themselves and honourable, and you want someone who's willing to play for us, no questions asked. Shea Adams, I think he took a while, and now there wasn't any complaints when he was banging them in against Denmark.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Take anybody, Gordon. Anybody that's good enough. Anybody that's good enough. I'm with you.
Get it, though? Did you get the other side of it?
I get the other side, that there will be supporters that think Scotland should be their first choice, but like, if these guys, some of these players aren't born in Scotland, then why would it be their first choice?
But I'm looking at a Celtic team here who, Glaswegian, born and bred. Never ever ever did I think I would see the day when a Japanese player would cross the ball for another Japanese player to score, while 2 Japanese players who are signed but have not yet played for Celtic sit and look on. And there's a 5th Japanese player on the park at the same time. The world's changed. Your wee bit of Helen Glen is for another time.
And when it's I suppose when it's not
nice
you
one.
Everyone, well, maybe not everyone, lots of people kind of celebrated the last month and said, you know, good on Jason Cummings. He's been capped for Scotland. Now look at him. He's over there with Australia and he's living the dream and he's got to the World Cup. And I suppose you do see it now. Not to everyone's taste, I do appreciate, but we'll keep an eye. Maybe Angus Gunn is the next goalkeeper to play for Scotland. Maybe Xander Clark and Liam Kelly will be hoping that is not the case.
They two are in with a shout though. You know, regardless.
Simon Murray's 4th of the afternoon. Cove Rangers 0, Queen's Park 5. Can Paul Hartley change his mind? Get like a grace period.
The thing you'd have to say about Paul is he's only in the door. He wouldn't have worked with the players. However, a lot of the players that are there would have worked with Paul, and they know his ideas.
Because at this time of year you're having a look at receipts, aren't you, to see how long you've got after Christmas to return the unwanted gifts.
Oh, Dad, I got stung with that with my boy. Got a nice jumper. Receipt didn't fit him. Receipt had expired. Couldn't send it back.
Sure, give it to me.
So is that the one you were wearing the other night?
I was wearing it the other night.
I thought that looked a bit expensive for him to have bought for himself.
So
that was for someone else.
That was for my boy.
It was
a bit young looking as well, I've got to say.
It was a bit young, yeah.
Trendy.
He
for
came
you.
straight in.
Hold on a minute.
He's come straight into the Christmas tracksuit on the day.
Full Christmas tracksuit.
100%.
I've never seen him wear it
Still
before
get the
in my
label
life.
on. Let's get label hanging out the back.
This is old.
No,
the jumper you had on
the
earlier
jumper.
and the trackies are brand new Christmas gifts.
Absolutely not.
The thickest hoodie you've ever seen in
It's
your life.
cold out there.
I could see the thickness of it all the way down the corridor when you were walking in. I said to Gordon, this guy.
I did rip the label off it. The car park, sitting in the car.
We've all been there.
I
saw someone make that point on Twitter, and I'm definitely skipping over him saying that he looks hot today. I'm not giving that any attention. Saying that like it's embarrassing after Christmas when you go out with your new trainers on and it's so obvious and everyone says, oh look at them, did Santa give you them?
100%.
Horrible. You gotta go out and scuff them first.
I know.
Make sure
He's got a set of new trainers. By the way, are we allowed to mention brands here?
No,
because he's
sponsored.
kitted
I'm sponsored
from head to toe and Under Armour and Under Armour trainers on. I don't think
he's taking the frustrated PE teacher to the new level.
Oh, should set up for the classes ahead for the full second half of the year.
Is this for your rehab for your knee?
This is for because I'll be out the golf course. So
what kind is that t-shirt under that Under Armour zipper?
And it was an Under Armour hoodie he had on top of that.
Hoodie on top of the Under Armour zipper.
I've got my Under Armour water bottle in the car as well.
Incredible.
Fully sponsored athlete.
Carter Vickers was down for a bit, but I think it was a knock to the face.
Yeah.
Not to say that's okay, but I just mean it probably doesn't mean any long-term concern. A hat-trick of subs coming on for Celtic, says Gabriel. Would you refer to subs as a hat-trick? I don't know.
A trio.
Giacomakis, Abada and O'Reilly coming on, and big one of these in the Highlands.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
Ross County 0, Livy 1. Bruce Anderson with the goal. He was Livy's top scorer last season, and he has indeed opened the scoring for Livingston.
Whatever Big Malky tries, it not coming off. Ross County nailed it to the floor of the Premiership, and Livy, the permanent pest. They're either in your face or in front against all expectation. So there you are.
Yeah, Ross County last season, Hungbo and Charles Cook got them out of so many holes, with some extraordinary goals at times when they were out of games. They've just not got that this season. And Malky Mackay in a spot of bother.
I've got to give you a little pat in the back. You called it.
Thank you.
He called the goal scorer.
I did say Bruce would bag.
Absolutely brilliant.
So Moy, Jota and Kyogo going off, Giacomakis, Abada and O'Reilly going on. So that's just it's typical Celtic really at this stage on the hour mark. We've seen more replays of the Kyogo goal. I think it's going down as an Ash Taylor own goal.
Well, you did call that right away when you saw it. I thought Kyogo got a nick butt own goal.
Certainly looking at the television, Sky have given it as an Ash Taylor own goal. You'd need a forensic analysis of this because it looks like, I think it still looks like it's on target. So if that's the case, a touch from Ash Taylor shouldn't change anything, but maybe Keogh doesn't get
this
the touch.
guy to the left of me would be claiming that all day long.
Listen, that's not.
I think any striker would be.
Anything.
I think a ball like that, you get a nick on it, you're putting it goalwards. If it takes a nick off a defender, it should be Keogh's
trio of subs, says Gabriel now, for Kilmarnock as well. Lyons, Doidge and Armstrong on as they try, and you never know, I don't think it's particularly likely, but get one, try and shake this up a bit, Hugh, or maybe even limit the damage.
To be fair, they've tried. They're not being embarrassed or humiliated. It's only 2, so maybe Derek McInnes has a grandstand finale in mind, but belatedly it's turned into a better performance from Celtic, and the subs again highlight the difference in quality. To bring on Abada, Giacomakis and Matt O'Reilly, if you're Derek McInnes, you're thinking, what chance have you got?
That's the thing, Hugh. See the Celtic fans going along. I mean, in years go by, your manager makes a sub, often one of the favourites go off to a standing ovation, and they're bringing on somebody who's trying to get in the team. Oh, for a lot of fans, the favourites are actually coming on the pitch.
Is it good then? Is it better as a fan? You go, I'm going to get to see 16 of my favourites today, rather than.
It's just a modern day game, isn't it? And especially when the game's away from Kilmarnock, you've got that luxury to look forward to planning the next few games, get people off.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
Bruce Anderson at the double and Livy at the double. That's not what Malky Mackay needed at all. I know Livingston felt they were a bit depleted, couldn't fulfil the subs bench. No Joel Newbley. Well, Bruce Anderson stepping up today. Ross County 0, Livy 2.
Good result that for Martindale. I mean, they just keep churning out results. I know we keep going on about it, surprised every year, but that's a terrific result. Going up there, it's never easy. Getting up to Dingwall, even when Ross County are struggling, and they just keep getting result after result.
As things stand, they would go above Aberdeen in the table.
Yeah.
And Aberdeen are slipping down to 6th unless they can get something going here. But St Johnstone could put them in the bottom 6, perhaps.
Hearts penalty claim might get checked. Play's still going on. Obviously, you have to wait for some sort of natural stoppage. So we'll take a look at whether that comes to fruition or not in the near future. But Bruce Anderson getting that double. Let me find out how much of a pessimist you are, Gordon. From a Motherwell perspective, are you happy to just see the likes of Ross County below you? Are you happy to just see them losing? Is that the priority? Or do you still look at, you could catch Livy, so you don't start looking at it that way?
Right now, I'd be delighted Ross County losing Saturday, but my full concentration would be tomorrow. They need to get a win, and they're up against a Hibs team that need to get a win. I think probably Lee Johnson will come under a lot more pressure than Stevie Hamill, but for Stevie, he wants to get them going again. Last year, I know that obviously Graham Alexander was in the building as well. Stevie Hamill takes over by Brian. 7 games in the calendar year ain't good enough, and they're slipping down the table. They're at home tomorrow. They've got the ability to go in a little run, of course they have, but they need to start somewhere. That 3 points needs to come at Fir Park tomorrow.
Now there has been a VAR check for handball at Celtic Park, but no penalty not given. I need to give you a bit more detail on that. Let me just find out a bit more about it. It's been quite the week for that type of discussion, and quite frankly we could be doing without any more of it for at least a day, just to give us all a bit of peace and quiet. But we'll take a look.
So in the Kilmarnock box for Celtic or against?
No, and it would have been a penalty to Celtic, but I think it was kind of the description kind of flicked up by the Kelly defenders who sort of kicked it off each other. Would have been harsh, says Gabriel. Don't expect everyone to agree with that, obviously, because we don't agree on anything, but you can pore over that one at your leisure. Hugh, remind us of the who am I question.
Okay, I have played alongside Scott Booth and Mark Overmars. I've been managed by Hans Meyer and Goose Hiddink. I won domestic cups in several countries, including Scotland, but I never scored for my country in any of my 6 appearances. Who am I?
Very good answers coming in. A few people getting it right. Let's help you and eliminate some of the wrong ones. Mark Patterson thinks it could be the last guy you want to get printed on your strip, Jan Vennegoor of Hesselink.
No.
See, do you know, just on that, I've got because these things stop coming on your radar the older you get. I've got a friend who's got a young boy who are looking to get his name printed in the back of his top, and apparently it's much harder to get that these days. They were saying it's just not quite as. Wouldn't want to stick anyone in trouble, because I'm sure there's a legitimate reason for it, but you know that famous place that you would usually go in this part of the world to get it done, apparently you can't do that anymore.
Oh, have they stopped doing
I
it?
don't want to misrepresent them, so I won't name them, but that was what they said. They may be talking absolute rubbish.
Right, okay,
that was a joy when you were young, wasn't it? Picking the name and going to get
brilliant.
You're talking about your episode with Graham Shinney. When Jan Vennegoor of Hesselink was here, the big season, and he eventually scored the goal that won the title for Celtic and Gordon Strachan at Tannadice. But he was going through a spell in the season, and I had a few words.
It's not like you.
No, but he came back about 10 years later. It must have been, you know, occasionally they bring back a player who played for Celtic, and it's to mark a special occasion. And at the press conference, I opened my mouth and he said, "I know you. You're the guy on the radio." And I thought, oh no.
Was he playing American Gangster when he was
Just shows you who they all listen. They say they don't, but they listen.
Said, "I know you." And the Dazzler has got it, although the spelling leaves a lot to be desired.
I know.
Hold on, how can you spell this name wrong?
He's added in a letter that just shouldn't be there.
Anyway, Stephen Kelly thinks it's Hans Gilhouse.
You can think again.
Alan Lappin's gone for the full name, Reginald Blinker.
Not Reggie.
James Laird thinks Theo Snelders.
Goalkeeper? No.
I can see it all going in for the same nationality here, because Stu thinks it's Bert Conterman.
Oh, that's who I thought it was.
But Paul Withers has gone completely rogue with Curtis Main.
Wow.
I think he's maybe just taking the
he's having a good Saturday, I think.
Anyway, we'll get the right answer soon. Keep your guesses coming at Clyde SSB.
Good shout, Daz. Bad spelling.
I can't believe I put that in there. The content, the vowel.
The continent. You don't want to put a continent in amongst the name. It'd be totally wrong.
Consonant.
Yeah.
Anyway,
look at that for Paul Hartley.
Wow, is that right? Come on, statisticians.
That's 12 in 2 games.
Give me the last Scottish team to concede 6 in consecutive games. Cove Rangers 0, Queen's Park 6, Grant Savoury. And they're still
Brecon.
Seriously. Well, we played Dundee United at home in the cup and then went to St Johnstone and conceded 7.
2 cup games though. We'll let you away with that. Higher league opposition.
Thanks,
Still 15 minutes left in that though, and it's 6-0 at the moment. At least Cove's got 1. In fact, did they not open the scoring last week and then concede 6?
They did, yeah.
Well, it's 6-0 at the moment. This could be an important one.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
Goal Aberdeen, and it's Duke again. This one he will be hoping stands after getting one ruled out earlier on. It was a long ball from Kellerus, the Aberdeen goalkeeper, so it sort of tells you the route to one nature of it. Outside of the foot finish, Duke making no mistake, and that one should stand, and that would be right on time for Jim Goodwin, Hugh.
Very much so, because he would have felt the pressure mounting, and the crowd, the rumbling and mumbling would have been getting louder. So he's not over the line, but that's a relief, and he just has 15 minutes or so to hang on.
Duke looks a good player. I mean, I've been impressed with him when he's on the ball and the things he does. It's just, we'll keep going back to it. Falling over too often and too easy, it kind of detracts from the player he is.
They're having a look though.
Oh no.
They're having a look.
VAR review with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
If
and it's been given. He's fine. It stands. Aberdeen 1, St Johnstone 0, Duke on 74 minutes.
Third time lucky then. 2 chalked off by VAR. The third one stands. So
big goal.
Yeah, he now has to make sure though, Jim Goodwin, that there are no belated surprises.
Yeah, because then that brings a whole different type of pressure, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When you're one up then and you're within touching distance. Fans definitely expect you to see it over the line, but
I just wonder what the fans will be like. Dave will be able to tell us.
Dave said at half-time a bit of a mix, a few boos.
Even at 1-0. Now, I go back to the fan that phoned here a couple of weeks ago when it was looking okay for Aberdeen, saying the football was dreadful. I just wonder what they'll think after today, if it's been a better performance to match the result, or it's been a bit lacklustre.
As things stand, and it can change, it would be a point gained on Hearts, I guess.
Yeah, and that makes it, if that happens, that makes it a good day.
Sorry, a couple of points gained on Hearts, who are drawing at the moment.
At that point, you're not dwelling on
and plus
the nature of your win.
Hugh, gives them a little bit of confidence going into next weekend's semi-final as well. You don't want to give them another defeat, probably under severe pressure against Rangers at Hampden.
Aye, and that's the thing, for all the moaning and griping for Aberdeen fans, if Jim wins today and then he's got the opportunity to get to a final, how different a season looks within 10 days.
And of course the likelihood is, though, you have to get past both of Glasgow's big two to win it, certainly one of them. So that can be, it was the Derek McInnes argument, we had it many times, didn't win enough trophies, which is true. You can't argue with that. That's just black and white.
One trophy.
But at the same time,
up against Brendan Rodgers,
when you keep
Celtic.
running into Brendan Rodgers' Celtic team, it's a bit tougher. And yes, I accept there were other cup exits that didn't involve that, but quite a few, semis and finals.
That's probably why I'm standing here, not in the English Premiership. I just kept running into Celtic and Rangers in the cup games.
Wow.
What a statement that is.
That's the only reason.
Well, Hugh and the lads at the ground will tell you, my record was terrific.
Anyway, Oberlei's come on for Bradley, for Livy. They've gone 5 at the back. They're just going to shore it up. The big guy that stands next to you sometimes, Marvin Bartley,
defensive coach.
He's defensive coordinator.
Oh, he'll be drinking his gallon of water just now.
He drinks a lot of water.
Does he?
Oh my!
Has he got one of the big gym bottles?
He brings a tank in here.
Honestly,
yeah, it's incredible.
You can tell, that way though. He just looks like he looks after himself, not like the rest of you. Like 15 coffees over there, no like cold baked beans in the other corner. Do you know what I mean? This guy is a picture of health when he comes in.
You drink that much water, I'd have to sleep in the bath in it. There was no point in me going to my bed.
Outrageous.
It's incredible.
I could see you eyeing up the bottle the other night and thinking, what's going on here?
Bet you didn't have the courage to say to him, though.
No, he did at the break. He said, Marvin, just how often do you need to go to the... Well, he didn't say it this way, obviously.
You get a goldfish in that.
How often do you need to go to the bathroom during the night? He was asking.
Put me on a timer here.
Incredible. By the way, Matt, are you still on the 15 coffees? You've not reduced that in the new year as a resolution?
Not at all. I love my coffee.
Well, no joke, we've been in here for how many hours? How many coffees you had? Every time Callum walks by, let's go for a coffee.
Callum actually just ignores me.
I think you're getting the end of his wick now, Callum, this week.
You everyone I tell that you drink that number, they think that's one. You do that, you pick a really high exaggerated number to make your story sound better.
That's
as if I've
true,
just put it thin. They don't believe me that you genuinely
I
drink
don't take biscuits with
15 coffees in a day.
And I don't take sugar, so it's very...
Anyway,
very
it's all
healthy.
started with Marvin Bartley, 5 at the back, keeping it tight, defensive coordinator.
Goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
County have pulled one back as game on. Ross County 1, Livingston 2. It's Jordan White. It looked last season like he could only score against Rangers at times, but he scored against Livy, a former Livingston player, of course. A close range header from Callaghan's back post, header back across the goal, and we've got a nice tidy finish on our hands up there.
Looks a bit embarrassing if you bring on players to make it 5 at the back and the first thing you do is concede a goal. So Marvin and Davy Martindale will not be happy with that turn of events.
Surely that won't turn around. Surely they won't lose a 2-goal lead. I can't see it.
It's only one now.
It becomes nervy for Livy now, though, doesn't it? County have got nothing to lose. Oh, it's getting checked, though. It's getting it's getting the treatment.
VAR review with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
It's getting checked, so Fraser Wishart will keep us up to speed. Clark has come on for Gordon for St Johnstone, and the other Clark, Xander, saved from Curtis Main and then goes down injured from the corner. Xander Clark.
Oh my.
Hearts will be, I think they cursed their luck a long time ago, so they'll be hoping that he gets back up. Is there not this week Craig Halkett missing the rest of the season as well, having already missed long periods? Liam Boyce, Michael Smith, we know John Souttar previously, Kai Rolls this season, the list just goes on and on. Beningame for ages, just
you've got some squad. You've got
some injury list.
Yeah, no, but when you hear the injury list,
offside given, that Jordan White goal does not stand. So there we go, and that's what it's there for.
Yep, correct decision. So David Martindale and Big Marv under a wee bit of pressure, get into that final 15 minutes. It's subsided now, they're fine.
Yeah, and sometimes the offsides, it feels like they're taking ages, but I just don't know what they're having to check in the lead up to find out if it was something else that should have.
Well, a few weeks ago, David Martindale had a quote after the game: I don't know how games are reffed anymore. So we'll see what he thinks about that one, the get out of jail decision.
Yeah, we will indeed find out. St Mirren making changes as well. Are they going to try and snatch a late winner? Fraser, you can tell Fraser Wisher's grumpy about these things. He says, good old VAR chalked off 3 goals today.
That must be the right decision.
Yeah, but Fraser's getting a bit excitement. He's got 2 goals.
That's what he's needing. He's wanting more goals.
Yeah,
that's what
good journey down the road. He'll enjoy his own company. Fraser.
We always talk about the players or the team that scores a goal, how it must feel, celebration. Imagine you're Livingston just now. You're 2 up, you're thinking we're cruising. We've just conceded, and you're thinking, here we go, we're in for a battle. Goals chalked off. Must feel absolutely brilliant.
It's the thing I don't like about it. It's that you'll have so much joy and excitement, and then it's just snatched away from you. That's the only thing I don't like about it.
I've noticed, because we're late to the party, so for years I've watched to see what the effect was, because it was one of the obvious concerns. I thought, if you lose the moment of joy when a goal goes in, football's done. It's like the best thing about football. I still feel like players do celebrate, don't they?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen anyone really pull it back?
No, but
you'll see the odd one, but by and large, players still run away daft. They might look a bit embarrassed a second later, but
yeah, no, I think the majority of players still celebrate.
But if it ever does kill that, then they need to think about binning it, because it's the best bit of football for sure.
I would love to see teams celebrate though, like Livy. They've just so the goal's been chopped off and all 11 get right up in the faces of the Ross County players.
I think you probably see a bit of that sometimes.
Gives an E.
Peterhead 0, Airdrie 1. Callum Gallagher on 84 minutes. Not a bad time to score if you've made that long trip up there from North Lanarkshire.
Peterhead struggling badly this year. Changed the manager, David Robertson in, same result. So
I told you that was my, like you guys do. You watch a team for half an hour, you make this broad prediction, and then you just live by it. I spent my summer, I managed to see one game. In fact, I left early, right? Peterhead losing in the League Cup, and I thought they look in a world of trouble, and it maybe just be a lucky
I remember prediction. You saying that, Gordon. No, I remember you saying they look so poor at this minute.
They were really just short on numbers as well, and they were comfortably beaten by a team from a lower division, and it didn't look great. But anyway, right, another one of these
goal flashes with Clyde Built Home Improvements.
Duke could have had a hat-trick. VAR played its part earlier. He's got his second though. It is a header from a Hayes corner, and Aberdeen look to be home and hosed. They'll be feeling a lot better. And there's Giacomakis rattled the bar from 25 yards for Celtic. Great effort, just not quite close enough, and almost Celtic taking a 3-0 lead, but it remains 2. Aberdeen do take a 2-0 lead, Hugh. That should be that.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a bad start to 2023 for Callum Davidson, losing late goal to Tony Watt when Dundee United went to McDiarmid Park. Now they've lost this game today. They've got the crowd trouble going on because of the prices they are charging for the cup tie against Rangers, and because they're giving the Rangers fans 3 stands and moving their season ticket holders elsewhere. It's a troubling start to 2023 amid talk of a takeover bid for the club.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like Aberdeen will take all 3 points. Arbroath 1, Inverness 4. Lewis Nicholson making that comfortable.
You're banging the goals in Inverness.
Some form,
and all the talk about hold on,
a header for 6 yards.
See, Gabriel is
he's still in his bag.
He's skating on thin ice this afternoon.
He's down watching it on TV.
That was a Giacomakis header from 5 yards, not 25.
It's a brilliant header. I think, does it come off the post as well?
He's furiously typing a message to me to try and absolve himself from blame here.
He's in the
and he actually
stand.
plays the game. He plays amateur football, doesn't he?
He's in the stand saying to Iwata, "What did you say at half time? What did you say?"
Oh, hold on, right. Has he hit the bar twice in quick succession?
Oh, has he?
Well, so he says. He's trying to get. Yeah, I'll believe him. He says that we're at it, but I genuinely didn't mean it intentionally. I just saw Giacomakis hit the bar from a header and thought that can't be the 25-yard effort. But anyway, Kelty Hearts 2-1 up at Clyde now. Kyle Docherty, 85th minute. Jim Duffy will tell us it was never a penalty, I'm sure, but that could be a big result for Kelty. Celtic look comfortable. A third looks relatively likely now. They've had a quiet spell followed by 2 Giacomakis efforts off the bar. Apparently I've only seen one.
They are night and day from the first half version of themselves, and they've been much more entertaining.
Giacomakis did indeed hit the bar from 25 yards.
Gabriel, well done. Never doubted you, mate.
Exactly. Right.
Full time in the Championship. Cove 0, Queen's Park 6. Paul Hartley knows fine well how big a job he's got on his hands now, Hugh, if he didn't before. And Queen's Park still top of the Championship.
You know, for someone of my age who remembers Queen's Park in the top division in Scottish football in my childhood, to see them there now, no longer an amateur club, and a few games away perhaps from going back into the top flight for the first time in 60 years and more, it would be quite a story. And I hope my friend Oni Coyle does it.
It doesn't seem like they took their foot off the gas. 15 minutes to go. They should have scored more. The goal difference will come in. I'm sure no one's going to be of that mindset. James Forrest's on for Celtic. What else? Charlie Riley's got Albion Rovers 4 up. Partick Thistle 2, Morton 1. Ross Docherty 89th minute. Morton had pulled level there, but it looks like Thistle have gone and snatched it at the death. What a big goal that could turn out to be. Let's finish this, Hugh.
Yeah.
The second half teaser
with the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
I have played alongside Scott Booth and Mark Overmars. I've been managed by Hans Meyer and Goose Hiddink. I won domestic cups in several countries, including Scotland. I never scored for my own country in any of my 6 appearances. I am Michael Moles.
There we are.
M-O-L-S.
How did you spell it? Like the animal?
Moles.
The animal.
M-O-L-E-S.
I was excited, lads.
Issue. Eamon Maguire in third place. Well done, Eamon. Steve, who's at Funk Soul Brother on Twitter. Decent enough name. And JC was the winner. Well done, JC, at Hit the Byline. He was the fastest. Sent that tweet in very quick. Knows his Michael Moles knowledge. And there we have it. Good one. I like that. Just the right level of difficulty, I would say, because there was lots of wrong answers.
Where would they have played with Scott Booth?
Scott Booth played in Holland.
Yeah.
Utrecht.
Of course.
Yeah. That was Michael Mole's main sort of club, wasn't it?
I was thinking Booth at Dortmund.
Quick collapse from Peterhead. That 3-0 now. Charlie Telfer with a 90th minute penalty for Airdrie.
Good player, Scotty Booth.
Yeah. Played against
good player.
Did I play against? No, I might not.
Honestly, I mean,
you must have played against him.
What age would Scott
Oh,
Booth
look,
be?
forget this. What?
Why make this statement if you're not sure?
As if we need to now go on a big piece of conversation about whether or not you played against Scott. Who cares? No offence.
That's taken.
He does. He's actually googling Scott Booth at the minute.
51.
You would have.
Yeah,
you would have, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Good
Now we can knock that in the head. Bit of pressure from Kilmarnock at the end as they look to try and get something rather than just hanging on. A couple of corners don't really come to much, but certainly trying to do it in the right area of the pitch.
To be honest, I think Celtic have been excellent in the second half. Created so many chances. Take it even away. Giacomakis hitting the bar twice,
yeah.
Quick succession. Abada went close. We've had others flash across the face. Just that, final touch was needed just to make this more comfortable for Celtic. What they wouldn't want to do is lose a goal right at the death to put a different spin in the game or put them under pressure. But I think they've been good this second half.
A couple of changes for Aberdeen. They're just running down that clock now. 2-0 up. Duncan and Ramirez on for Clarkson and Duke, who I'm sure gets a good response from the Aberdeen fans. He had the ball in the net 3 times, 2 of them counted and 1 didn't, but can't really argue with his contribution today.
Yeah, not just that, it's a massive result for Jim, and we touched on it earlier, getting into a big game next week at Hampden against Rangers. But he was under pressure at home. A lot of fans would have been going along there. If that didn't go right today, I think Jim was in serious trouble. Got to say, this Aberdeen board have certainly backed him. They've brought in some good players, or good quality players up there. It's up to Jim now to keep the results going. But that's a big result for him today, no doubt.
Well, Dave Cormack is thinking, I appointed Stephen Glass, it didn't work, had to end that arrangement. I appointed Jim Goodwin. Can you really keep on sacking managers? But results mean everything.
Yeah, and things can change so quickly. We just throw that word pressure around. Aberdeen fans were unhappy, so if that's what you mean, then yeah, fine. But in the space of one afternoon, Mark, they go on to 29 points. Hearts are now in 32. That's pretty close by anyone's estimation.
Yeah. You've got to think, if you're the chairman, especially Dave Cormack, what is working for Aberdeen? What does that mean? You've got to think, finishing third, yeah, okay. If you finish fourth, is it a disaster? Probably not. Getting to a cup final,
big chance missed. James Forrest, the keeper saves, then the rebound, and he hammers it off the post somehow. Not 3-0 for Celtic. It does remain 2.
Yeah, but so if you're an Aberdeen fan, I get the impression that you're never going to be happy unless you're winning a cup every year. It's just unrealistic. When you're coming up against Celtic and Rangers, particularly Celtic in recent years, and coming undone, then you're just being beaten by the better team with a bigger budget, who's expected to win things every year.
Yeah, but you're getting beaten with St Mirren and getting beaten with Kilmarnock,
and that's something that us types down here, it's easy for us to say that, and the fans, they just don't feel that way, so you can't begrudge that.
No, not at all.
I assume they have the third biggest budget in the country.
Hearts
probably.
Hearts must
be close, but
be close, yeah.
Hearts maybe.
I think in terms of cup football, no one will ever win the league again other than Celtic and Rangers. But in terms of cup football, if you're an Aberdeen fan or a Hearts fan, you're entitled to think that one season, St Johnstone did it twice, so you're entitled to think that you should be capable of doing it every now and then.
Oh, absolutely, but then it's those fine margins, which is that frustrating phrase, isn't it? Just because you know it's a great day for fans, but an actual measure of sort of consistent success, or a measure of where you are, would be the regular third place finishes that Aberdeen had, second place. But of course, when you don't translate that into something that you hold above your head, I get it. You obviously do want more of that.
You don't get a parade down Union Street or Princess Street for that. And fans like a bit of glory. I mean, the Hibs fans got it, when they won the cup for the first time in 100 and odd years.
The James Forrest chance, by the way, that double chance, unbelievable. Celtic should be.
He's got to score there. The first one he puts right at the goalkeeper, but the second one, it's on the volley in the 6-yard line. Plenty of time. He's just got to burst the net with that. I don't know how Celtic haven't managed to score a third goal in this second half.
Full time in Dingwall. Fraser Wishart's.
Full time here. Livingston have got the 3 points. It's Ross County 0, Livingston 2. And interesting to hear what both managers have to say, because at one point David Martindale went from being angry and worried at the sideline to delighted at the final whistle. And Malcolm Mackay, I think we'll think his side could have won it and played well at times, but County dominating in the second half, creating chance after chance. Bruce Anderson stepped up with 2 goals in 2 minutes, excellent finishes, and the 3 points go back down the A9 with Livingston. Forget the first half, little to report. The only real talking point was when Livy did hit the ball in the back of the net. A lovely pass by Bruce Anderson, outstanding throughout the whole game. Put Andrew Shinnie through, 1-1 the goalkeeper, good low finish, but the linesman had his flag up and VAR confirmed it was offside. I think both managers looked for more composure, quality ball in the second half. I think we definitely got that a minute in. A really good chance for Ross Callahan. County midfield player found space in the box, quick turn and shot, saved the legs of George. I felt he should have done better and perhaps even scored. Penrice went close at the other end with a low shot from 18 yards just wide, and it looked certainly it was going to be a much better 42nd 45, which it was. On the hour, Cancola should have opened the scoring for Ross County. Edwards did really well on the left hand side. His low cross was flicked into the path of Cancola by sub Huwula just on the park. A lovely touch by Cancola, 18 yards out, gave himself plenty of space. He went for the side foot finish, but he put it inches wide rather than scoring, and Malky had his head in his hands. Then captain Keith Watson's snapshot was tipped over by Livy keeper George as County were on top, and David Martindale becoming really animated, but his demeanour changed completely when his side took the lead against a run of play on 67 minutes. Stephen Bradley did well on the right hand side, his low right foot cross. Bruce Anderson just checked back a bit off his defender, and a really good high finish from 8 yards by the striker. And 2 minutes later it was 2-0. Anderson got the ball in halfway and he drove straight at Randall. It was 1v1. Randall backed off into the box. He should have made a challenge, but by the time he did, Anderson skipped by him, got a yard, and a brilliant finish by the striker low across the goalkeeper. That knocked the stuffing out of County. Did with the ball in the back of the net. Ross Callahan headed the ball back across goal from a long ball, and John White headed it into the net, but VAR gave Ross Callahan offside. Then Jakubiti was inches wide with a back header and the keeper beaten. You could tell it was not going to be County's day, and in fact it was Anderson that almost got his hat-trick in stoppage time. His effort was saved by the legs of Laidlaw. Full time here, Ross County 0, Livingston 2.
There's a VAR check for a stamp by a Hearts player, alleged stamp, so Hearts could be about to receive a red card, but we'll keep an eye on it. Let's go and get a full-time story from Pittodrie with Dave Galloway.
Full-time, Aberdeen 2, St Johnstone 0. Aberdeen started on the front foot and dominated possession, with Shinnie looking very impressive in midfield. They celebrated when Duke netted with a lovely turning shot from Clarkson's free kick, only for a VAR review to rule it out for offside. Saints threatened little at the other end, but May's header from Wright's cross flashed just wide. Majowski really should have scored when he got in behind, pouncing on a defensive lapse, but his attempted chip over Matthews lacked power, and the goalie got back to stop the ball crossing the line. And the striker once again powered through as half-time beckoned, but again Matthews saved as yet another chance went a-begging. St Johnstone looked rather sprightly heading into the second half. Murphy on the angle shot over the bar, and from a corner May's header at the near post went over as well. Ramadani's drive was deflected narrowly wide for the Dons, but the home side weren't carving out as many chances as they did before the interval, with the Saints looking much more in the game. However, Aberdeen broke the deadlock on 74 minutes, a simple long punt up the park, and Duke was onto it in a flash to stab in the opening goal. And it was Duke at the double 10 minutes later, heading home Hayes' corner. So a much needed win for the Dons, their first in 6 matches. Aberdeen 2, St Johnstone 0.
Still no outcome on, and yes it is, sorry, it's not Hearts, my apologies, it's Marcus Fraser's been sent off, so it was the other way round in the end. So St Mirren, he had given a free kick to St Mirren, that's where the confusion came from, but maybe the retaliation or something along those lines. Right in the 95th minute, Marcus Fraser of St Mirren sent off after a VAR check. It's finished at Celtic Park. Gabriel?
Yeah, full time here, Gordon, and it is Celtic 2, Kilmarnock 0. Jota's tapping on the stroke of half time, and Kyogo's deflected finish in the second half make the difference for the league leaders, who move a massive 12 points clear at the top of the table. It wasn't all plain sailing. Celtic started the game way off the pace, some extremely slack passing, but credit to Kilmarnock, they had really good shape. They didn't sit too deep, they were really well organised by their manager, and there were very few chances in the first 45. Kyogo did have the ball in the net after a lovely shot across, but the linesman had his flag up very early, and VAR confirmed it was clearly offside. The pivotal moment in the game came just before the interval, and it was almost a mirror image of that disallowed goal. Alexandro Bernabe had been slack with his passing early on, but he slid Maida in with a brilliant pass in between the centre-halves and the full-back. Maida himself cut the ball across, and both Jota and Kyogo were in the middle of the goal. Jota nicked in ahead of Kyogo and tapped it in. Killian Derek McInnes would have been so disappointed to concede at that time, so close to getting in level, but Celtic improved greatly in the second half. In the 51st minute, it was the first time in the game that Killy were cut open properly at the back, and it was a brilliant goal from Kyogo, although it may go down as an Ash Taylor own goal. Aaron Moy fed the ball wide to Reo Hatate, man of the match Reo Hatate, who put a brilliant ball across the face, and again Kyogo showed his outstanding movement, slid in front of his defender, tapped it in, and it did hit Taylor on the way through. The game opened up a bit more after that, as you'd expect. The Hoops were in total control and looked a lot more like their usual selves. Jota broke through a couple of times, forced a big save from Walker a couple of minutes later. The keeper then made a great save from Hatate after a strike from outside the box. Abada and Maida both went close. Then Giacomakis headed off the bar from 5 yards before rattling it again from 25 yards. It would have been a beautiful goal. And then right at the death, James Forrest somehow hammered the ball down the keeper's throat when he had all the time in the world. He then smashed the rebound off the post when he had to score. It was amazing that Celtic didn't get that third goal, but Killy can be thankful to Walker in the goal and the woodwork itself that it was only 2. It could have easily been 5 in the end. Not Celtic's best performance of the season, but they were impressive in the second half, and it is job done. They moved 12 points clear of Rangers. Full time here at Celtic Park. It's Celtic 2, Kilmarnock 0.
Come on then, Celtic fans, what did you make of that? 01419511025. What did you like about the performance? Maybe if there was something you didn't like, you could share that as well, but I'm pretty sure it was a mainly comfortable afternoon for you. But do pick up the phone right now. It's your chance to have your say on the open line. It's full time in Paisley. David Friel.
Full time, Gordon, St Mirren 1, Hearts 1. Stephen Robinson in front of me. He's a frustrated man. They made it an impressive 10 home games unbeaten, but I think St Mirren will feel his side should have a lot more to show from this one. Hearts weren't great. Robert Snodgrass cancelled out Ryan Strain's early free kick to give them a point, but I think St Mirren, on the balance of chances, they wasted some really good ones, should have probably won this game. Ryan Strain went off injured after 17 minutes, but he'd already claimed the opener early on. Cammy Devlin bars Keanu Bacchus over, and Strain's 25-yard free kick flew into the top corner past Xander Clark. I think it did have a slight deflection. St Mirren were the better team in the first half. Alec Grieve ran himself to a standstill but just couldn't score. He had so many chances, so many opens, couldn't get on the end of crosses. When he did get on the end of one at the back post in first half injury time, he volleyed way over the bar. Hearts had been really poor in the first half. St Mirren again had more chances at the start of the second half. Alec Grieve, Curtis Main, both having efforts, but Hearts then made the most of the let-offs with a freak equaliser on 49 minutes from Snodgrass. It seemed to be a pretty straightforward cross into the box from wide on the right, but both players from both teams challenged, but it just evaded absolutely everybody and flew past Trevor Carson. It was game on at that point. Hearts were a lot better. They upped the pressure. Lawrence Shankler did a weak header save. They headed over the bar. Alan Forrest, he crashed one into the side netting as well. But then St Mirren came back again. Curtis Main had a shot saved, and Toyosi Olusanya fired over on a counter attack. You wondered what would the ending be like, but it was actually a bizarre one. St Mirren won a free kick wide on the right. Marcus Fraser then got a red card, even though the referee had penalised the Hearts player. So Hearts stay in third, St Mirren slipped down to 6, and I think the visitors will probably be happy with the point on the balance of play. Full time, St Mirren 1, Hearts 1.
And now it's over to you to have your say. The best part of a Saturday. We've watched, we've listened, we've seen good things, bad things, refereeing, talking points, I'm sure, and whatever else is out there on a Saturday afternoon. Now is when you tell us what you made of it. 0141 951 1025. Celtic fans, you'll be getting back in the car. It was 2-0. That doesn't look like a massively comfortable scoreline, but the second half performance, was that particularly dominant? What did you like about it? How would you sum up Kyogo's goal scoring at the moment? Maybe Ash Taylor is getting that one taken off him though, for the own goal. Jota back in about it after a sort of up and down period for him. Alistair Johnson played again. What did you make of it all? Come on, 01419511025. Aberdeen fans, you'll be happy. Share of the spoils in Paisley. Big games tomorrow as well. Rangers fans, what are your thoughts ahead of Dundee United? What do you want to see from Michael Beale's team tomorrow? 01419511025, and we will take as many calls as possible next.